Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 681. It is Thursday, May 20th, 2021, and my name is Nick Henderson. Joining me tonight is Brad Simons.
Hello.
Nolan Hedstrom.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Christopher Davis.
Good evening.
And Christopher Guthridge.
Hello.
And video games. Video games are what we are here to discuss, per usual. We have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about Mass Effect Legendary Edition. We're going to talk about Subnautica Below Zero, maybe some Zelda, maybe some Resident Evil Village. We got a lot to talk about tonight. But before we do that, I, of course, want to remind everybody a couple things. One, if you have not yet joined our Discord, please do so. Discord.gg/4player. Jump in there. It's free. Hang out. Talk about video games at all times. It's a great place to hang out with the rest of the community. And if you do pop in, make sure you stop in the introductions channel and say hello, introduce yourself. I always love hearing from new people joining the channel. It's great. I also want to say that I recorded the next episode of the Revival Club about Final Fantasy XII on Monday with two community guests, The Drunken Merchant and Gonzo Lude. They joined me for that podcast, and I have that ready to go. I'll probably get that up tomorrow, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We're playing Stalker, Call of Pripyat next for the Revival Club, which should be interesting. It's been fun so far, experiencing that game. Oh yeah, Nolan jumped into our little free session we had the other night, and then just ghosted us in the middle.
No, I kept asking Chris Davis questions, and he kept fucking ignoring me.
He was too busy answering all of mine, I guess.
I remember answering some of your questions. Maybe
it's a deep game. There's a lot going on. It's admittedly a lot deeper than I expected. But of course, we will be talking about that in Discord. We'll be talking about that on the podcast that I eventually record with Mr. Davis and a community guest when we get through that. But if you're interested in playing along, discussing the game, and maybe even being a guest on a future episode, patreon.com/4player is the place to be. But yeah. Oh, and one real quick, I tweeted about this today. I feel really terrible because we've been doing this podcast for 12 years or something crazy like that. And at some point along the way, I just kind of stopped mentioning reviews. But if you listen to our show on a weekly basis and you're like, it's a pretty good show, and you haven't yet, please leave us a review on if there's a service that lets you leave reviews. I know not all of them do, but I know Apple Podcasts or iTunes or whatever the fuck it's called now lets you. We have 700 reviews on there, and I'd like to see some. I'm going to be checking those more often. So if you like the show, leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. But with that said, let's get into it. Where do we want to start tonight? I guess technically we typically start with the newest shit. And Mass Effect Legendary Edition and Subnautica came out on the same day, but Mass Effect, here's the thing.
Very old.
Mass Effect is very old, but Subnautica has also been in early access for a very long time. But
I don't think Subnautica has been in early access since 2007.
That is true.
I have something to add. Mass Effect is still Mass Effect, and I don't even know what the fuck we're going to talk about tonight. To be completely honest,
we don't. It's probably not a ton to say about it. I mean, it's worth talking about revisiting that game for the first time in some time.
True.
Also, talking about the upgrades they've made.
It is the good one.
I did listen to Giant Bomb's discussion on Mass Effect this week, and it was amazing how quickly it became a conversation about Mass Effect 3 and the ending and stuff. So I like to avoid that if possible, especially since I don't know about Chris Davis. I haven't finished Mass Effect 1 yet. I'm nowhere close to hitting Mass Effect 3. So we can save that discussion for when we finally get there. But we'll talk about that. Why don't we?
Did anybody actually play that epilogue to 3 that came out after the fact?
Yeah,
I didn't.
I didn't either.
I have only ever experienced the vanilla ending to Mass Effect 3.
I feel like 3 out of 4 people did not experience that at all.
No.
So yeah, I don't even really know where they ended up on that whole thing.
Yeah. I'm interested to get there. But we'll talk about Mass Effect in a second. Why don't we open with, unless he's already started rolling footage. Chris Davis, have you started rolling footage? Because
I have not, because
Okay.
I figured we would talk about Subnautica first.
All right. Nolan is like balls deep in Subnautica Below Zero, right? And Subnautica is like
You're not wrong.
our favorite game of all time, right? Pretty
Yeah,
much
pretty
across
cool.
the board.
It's, yeah, it's,
I
it's a
thought
good
that was
game.
Hollow Knight, but okay.
We're just that's not accurate. So why don't we start there? Nolan?
Subnautica was the second best game that came out the year that it released. The first, of course, being Monster Hunter World.
Brad's not wrong.
Oh, now Brad's a Monster Hunter fan.
wait, what? I don't even know what that means.
So am I talking about Subnautica now?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Let's
I
do
have
it.
a
Cool.
cat outside of the room.
I kind of don't want
as
to
I always
watch this.
do.
I'm a.
You're Brad. You're not going to see much spoiler. You are going to see me exploring one kind of shipwreck, but it's not really going to help you too much, just because you don't really necessarily know where it is. But anyway, yeah, I've been playing a decent amount of Subnautica Below Zero, the follow-up to Subnautica. It's pretty good. It is, and that was kind of a big conversation. So I casted this game for the first time casting a game in a long time, and it was kind of just my first experience with this game.
Yeah, I think
and
most of us here
thankfully-
were waiting for it to come out of early access, right? Did anybody here play it before it came out of early
No,
access?
I was waiting.
And so I did that on purpose. But thankfully, someone played it in early access. Because Smiley Alyssa, I think over 100 hours, and so she was able to give me a lot of tips, which was pretty helpful. Because if you've played the original game, you know you kind of get dropped in the middle of nowhere, and you have no idea what's going on, and you don't really know where to go. There are some kind of clues and hints, like, oh, we threw up an icon, a beacon. Go check that out.
Right.
It's been a long time since I played the original game. One thing I don't remember if the original game did that this definitely does is it seems like they kind of maybe tend to put stuff between you and where the story is taking you, or maybe just right outside of that range. And so there was definitely times when I was kind of like, investigating things, exploring things, whatever, and then the game's like, hey, go this way because the story's telling you to, and I go that way, and in between me and that destination I find like a shipwreck or some important thing.
Does that make the are you saying that kind of makes the story feel more organic maybe than
I don't
the first
I
one,
don't
or
feel
more,
like the
or you think it's
original
more
did
linear?
I wouldn't say, I'm not talking about story. I'm talking about like upgrades, researchable things. So you might find some parts that you need to scan to unlock a new like the sea truck is the thing. If you remember from the first game, had the sea moth, and there was that little like submersible, the tiny one, not the
thing that I used,
the colossal,
The
or something like
Cyclops.
that? Cyclops, thank you. The Cyclops was the big submarine. The Sea Moth was like the tiny little like dock ship that you could dock into the Cyclops. Yeah, the pod.
I got it. The moth was the thing in the Phantom Menace that they ride through the planet's core.
Kind of.
How
It
the
does look
fuck
like
do
a
you
little
know
bit.
that?
Anyway, moving on.
The big fish.
Gungan
So
Bongo?
the big difference between that and this is you can see it here. Here I have the sea truck, and it is called a truck for a reason, and that is because instead of I don't know if there is going to be a Cyclops. I don't think there will be.
Got a lot of cargo
But
space.
instead, you create modules that you can dock to the back of the truck, like
Ooh.
as
that
if
would
it's
be
like an
cool.
18-wheeler.
train.
Yes, and so you can
That's
have multiple.
cool.
You can kind of put them in any order. The problem is it slows you down a bit, so maybe you don't want to take all of them. And so
Are
you
you
can
like
have
taking
like
your base with you, kind of?
kind of. So there is one that has a fabricator in it. But you have to, once again, you have to find the parts to craft these. It's not like you don't get to craft them off the bat. So there's one that has just like literally it's just storage. It has a bunch of lockers in it. That was the nice thing about the Cyclops in the first game was you could literally build lockers in the Cyclops. You can't do that in this. Whatever is in the Sea Truck is in there. So you have to get if you want more storage, you could build multiple storage modules and take them with you on your trip.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah,
like
no, it is.
base rooms that you can attach to it.
Yes and no. They're very small though. You kind of saw in the footage when I got into the Sea Truck. It's just like a very small little room. Once again, you can't build anything in it. It's just what is in it is what's in it.
Right.
So
I have
there's
a
one
question.
that. What's up, Nick?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna. So if you're like, if at some point you're like, say you're hauling like 3 modules behind you, so you had this little underwater train kind of with you, right? Does that make navigating like tight spaces really difficult?
Yes, it does. So there's been multiple times where I've kind of found like a smaller cave system that it's like really annoying. So I get out, I detach my back modules, leave them at the exit, and then I just get in the cab of the truck and drive that around.
That's
That's so cool,
dude. It's pretty cool so far.
So just to kind of for the setup of it, I guess is this not so? As I understand it, this is kind of like in the first game it was all about building a ship to take off and escape that planet, right? That was covered in ocean. Is this like you've crash landed from that escape on a different planet?
No,
There's a
so
whole
you were
story.
not. Yeah, you were not Sam. Sam was a character from the first game. You were Robin, and you were looking for Sam because Sam has gone missing.
Oh, it's like a mystery.
Yeah. And so you're
That's
finding
cool.
clues along the way. I found a couple of bases, and once again, similar to the first game, you're finding lots of PDAs that have like audio logs, and you're finding some audio logs from Sam, and you're trying to figure out the stuff that's going on,
Wait.
and stuff like that. What's up?
Is this like Sam is missing? Like you're looking from them. You're looking for Sam from them missing from being in the first game, or like this is after they've escaped the water planet and come back.
Do
to
not quote me
civilization
on
and now they're
Not
missing
a-
again.
Not 100% sure. I think the latter, though. I think
Okay.
the latter.
Isn't
I'm not
the-
100%.
So I thought so I don't know the connection between the first game, but I'm not very far in this, but I thought the story was that you were told the company that she was working for said she died, and
Correct.
you showed up to like say, I don't know about this, and to
Correct.
investigate.
Take it into
Yes,
your own
you were
Yeah.
her being dead, but you don't think she is. Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think my
Interesting.
next question is, we all played Subnautica, and the approach to story in that game is obviously very, very minimal. It's like crash land on a planet, you got to build a ship and escape, which for served its purpose. It was really well done, and I actually really liked it because it was a survival game that had a clear end in sight. So you always know you're working towards something and you know what you're going to achieve. Does having more of a context in this game hurt it or help it, you think?
There is definitely some mystery still going. Like you have like a context. You know what your goal is, but you don't really know like how you're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you're just trying to find your way. And I don't want to get into too many spoilers because there is some stuff that I could spoil, but I don't want to get into yet because I don't know. Once again, I kind of avoided the shit out of this game going into it. I didn't really look into the story. I didn't look into anything that was going on. So some of the stuff that I now know, I don't know if it's a spoiler. So I don't really want to get into it.
I will say this, like this is the first time I've been avoiding this like the plague too, just because I love the first one so much and I wanted to go in blind again like that first time. So this is like watching your footage is like the first time I've really even seen this game in action.
If you're just like looking at it from a footage perspective, it is very similar to the first game.
It is very similar, but
Very
it's also
similar.
giving me tinglies. Like I'm excited.
Oh
Like,
yeah, oh no, definitely.
There's
It looks-
from what I understand, there's a lot more story in this one, and there's a lot more like voice acting and stuff too.
There is
And I think there's
lot of
even
voice
like
acting.
I think there's even like people. Like in the trailer, you see a people. You see a people
yes.
interact with you.
Yes, you do interact with people. I
No,
don't know how many
not people.
Yeah,
They're the worst.
It does kind of take away a little bit from like the sense of isolation. The very
Well, that's the thing is, it's not. You're no longer in that position. You are no longer stranded on a desert planet. This is not like a deserted planet. Like shit has been going. Like you were interacting with like research facilities and stuff, but you don't necessarily know why the people aren't there anymore. So stuff like that. So there's a lot more to it. But yeah, like I said, I found some research facilities that used to be there, and there's some PDAs, and maybe Sam worked at one for a bit, and she left some information there, and so stuff like that. What I wanted to say is like,
Oh, go ahead.
what's up, Brad? No,
Well, I
you can
want to
answer.
ask. I want to ask you. Well, I want to talk about my experience, but I guess you should finish what your thought.
Sure. So I kind of wanted to say a couple things. If you're watching this footage and you've never seen footage before, or if you have played the game, you might notice that my lockers might be a little bit bigger than they should be. I definitely installed a mod to make the lockers bigger.
Oh, boo!
Oh.
You played the first game without Hunger and Thirst too, didn't you?
Yes, I am playing this with
Fucking
Hunger and Thirst.
cheat.
Wait, I
If
want to
you can't
talk about
see.
that. That's
Hold
what I
on,
want to talk about.
But the thing is, in the first game, and I was talking about this with Bernadette, I remember having like room after room, a fucking rows of libraries of lockers to store all of my shit. Because those lockers do not hold a lot. And you don't collect 2 or 3 things. You're collecting dozens and dozens and dozens. And unlike something like Minecraft, objects don't stack. So if you get a piece of titanium and you get a second piece of titanium, that's 2 inventory slots. Nothing stacks in this game. And so that was kind of one of my biggest frustrations about the first game. And I never installed any mods in the first game. But this one, mainly being I'm trying to like not spend 400 hours on this game, I was like, you know what? Let me make it a little bit easier on myself. And have some bigger lockers, and my storage is a little bit bigger. But like the sea truck, I didn't modify the storage on that or anything like that. What's up, Chris?
Wait,
So
no, Chris
Okay,
Davis.
sorry, what-
No, wait.
Okay.
I was next. I called
fine.
it.
Go.
Mr. Chris Davis.
I wanna ask. I was on Hunger and Thirst.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I also didn't play
Thirst
the
is
first
the
game
name of the
with
game.
Hunger and Thirst. I also didn't play it that way, and I started this one with Hunger and Thirst because people said, there's a lot of stuff you can make to kind of make that, it's part of the whole like tech tree, right? All this you can build stuff to make that stuff easier. But man, I've only played this game for like an hour, and it's been that combined with the fact that I had like a pretty big glitch or pretty big crash that made me lose like over half an hour of progress. My beginning was with this game have been very frustrating, and I know that the Hunger and Thirst is not like a real thing that I need to worry about like it is in some survival games, but it is like this constant timer that I have to like nurse, and like it makes me not want to just go out into the ocean. It makes me want to like
You're
just
weak.
stay by my base and collect a bunch of fucking fish and shit.
You're weak, Brad.
Okay.
You're weak.
So yeah, let's talk
No,
about
but
that
this
a
is
little
not that kind of game. It's not.
Correct.
Hunger and
To an
Thirst,
extent.
like it goes from something that's kind of just like a fucking nuisance to like, well, I've made things to like, like I'm sure Nolan's gonna like plant some fucking fish eggs or some shit in here, and he's not gonna have to.
You
go
guys
collect
aren't
fish
spending
anymore. But
hours
you
building
still-
lockers just to hold bottles of water and food that you cooked. You
But see,
guys,
that
you
doesn't
guys haven't
sound
even
fun.
played Subnautica.
There's
You haven't
no-
played the game I've
None
played.
of that's the exciting
You are
part of
not committed
Subnautica.
like Chris.
I mean,
No,
I'm gonna be
I'm a
honest,
goddamn
guys.
culinarian in
But at the end of the day,
Subnautica.
it's just a fucking timer. It's a timer.
So
on,
let's
on
talk about that.
an
a little bit,
inventory.
Brad.
It's a timer in inventory space.
Correct, and
You
that's
know how
maybe
much
one of the
salted
reasons
fish I've hawked down.
I installed a mod. But yes, so that is another thing, and Crispy brings up a good point. You have to cure your fish. If you just catch a bunch of fish and try to go off exploring with them, they will spoil and go bad. So you have to, at your base, you have to combine salt with the fish to cure it, and then it will last, I think, to my knowledge, indefinitely.
Yeah.
So Brad, to let you know, a couple of things have changed even since this footage. So before this footage, I got a new suit. If you follow the storyline and kind of also explore a little bit,
Like a prawn
I found
suit or just a
no, a wetsuit, and this wetsuit collects the water. I don't know if it's like sweat or whatever, but it collects the water around me and turns it into drinkable water, and then we'll just throw it in your inventory. So every once in a while, you don't get enough to like
Oh.
completely sustain yourself,
Yeah.
but you get some, which is helpful. The
Wait,
second thing I
did you
got-
not know that did that, Brad? These little water bags that he's got in his inventory, it gives you one of those like every 30 minutes.
Yeah,
I know. I know there's stuff that I didn't have to deal with in the first game, and that's why I
So-
chose to.
I
do
mean, there's
Hunger
a
and Thirst
lot of
now.
moments where it's like I'm exploring a cave network and it's like, oh, I'm thirsty, I don't have any water, and it's like, if I die here, that's actually really bad.
I
Like
don't
I'm
want
carrying too many of like my batteries and stuff with me. Like
yeah.
It's a dimension. It's part of the texture of the game. Listen, I'm not like a difficulty purist, but that was the
No,
game, man.
So here's the thing. I didn't
The
play.
game was eating and drinking.
No, I played the same game that Brad did. I didn't do hunger, but admittedly, like this is the game that kind of turned me on to survival games. I didn't play any survival games beforehand, so the thought of having to manage hunger and thirst back then when I played this seems a lot more daunting to me than it does now. So I'm thinking about trying.
It's not as bad as you think. I promise.
I mean, it's
isn't
never
really.
daunting. It was never like the daunting part of
Yeah.
Subnautica. The big,
No.
huge underwater creatures and caves and the lack of oxygen is the real daunting thing.
But it was
seemed
like
a
a
nuisance.
well, I don't know, nuisance. I mean, it's like it factors a lot into like base building and stuff, which I mean, this game's
Yes.
all about base building. So like,
So
I don't know, like
That's
having
what I was
another
gonna say.
problem
You're
to
right,
like
you're right.
architect around is kind of
Is-
interesting.
is now where I'm at in the game. It's not in this footage because I've played a lot more since I recorded this. But I now have a section of my base where I have some like beds where I've planted plants to grow
Yeah.
for food. I also I found in one of the a vessel that I found in the wild a water reclamation machine. So it's a machine
Yeah.
you set up in your base, and it will produce water and salt. It
And
essentially
salt,
extracts
yeah.
the salt from the environment, or salt water, and it will put out salt and water. The good thing is, it's the most like water you get from anything. It's 50 plus water. You have like a little over 100, so 2 of those will fill you completely. But then it puts out salt, which means you can now use that salt to cure fish.
I've been
to
watching a lot of Naked and Afraid and the show
But
Alone
Brad-
from the History Channel. And man, you don't have to eat as much as you do in this game, and you don't have to drink as much as you drink in this game.
You don't have to
Not
eat
really.
or drink
It's a video
that much.
game.
You're just not full all the time. But Brad, listen, like one nice thing about having the hunger and the thirst on is like what Nolan is saying is it influences the architecture of your base. All of a
I
sudden
know.
your base has
know.
like estuaries and like
I know.
hydroponics bays and stuff, and like
I
that
know.
stuff is fun to build.
I
It's
know.
not a problem to like build away and never think about it again. It's like kind of fun to manage, like, oh wow, I've got an aquarium now. I can raise my own fish instead of fishing. Going from hopping out of my sea moth and stabbing wild fish to get food to like actually
Hold on.
building an estuary.
You
like,
don't have to
Crispy,
convince me.
Crispy.
I'm playing with Hunger and Thirst on.
Crispy, you don't have to.
I'm-
There's a module for your sea truck that you can get that will pull fish out of the environment and put them in
That's
that. And so
cool!
you can just
you
go in
can
the
just
back of your sea
dredge
truck
while
and
you're
pick up
like
a flat.
flying around. Like that's
Yeah,
cool.
I know. It's just right now. I feel like it's really slowing me down, and,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
I
it-
kind of
so-
want to build up some fucking momentum.
It's
and
exponential, Brad. It's
Dude,
one
I
of
feel
those
like
things
the
where
first
early
game-
on it's a pain, but then as soon as you start getting, you'll get a little device you can put outside that's like a fucking fish magnet that will literally draw fish to it. You get stuff that helps you make. It's one of those things where yes, for the first few hours, you will every once in a while have to make a quick stop and just go and collect some fish. And collect some like what are the balloon fish for water and some Arctic peppers for actual food, because those are the best fish for food.
The way I see it, because like I'm thinking about the trajectory of the first game. By the time you get to a point where you're like venturing into like deep underwater caves, I feel like you will already be at a point where you don't really worry about hunger and thirst the way you do at the beginning. And you did just say, admittedly, you only played like an hour, so it might be a little early to be, throwing down against the fucking hunger and thirst system.
But I'm not though. You're not listening to me. I'm saying
Yeah.
just at the start of the game, it has
It's
felt like
always
kind of
more
a
impressive
nuisance.
to get started. Yeah. But
I
I
feel
feel
you.
like this game has. Yeah, I mean, I kind of get where you're coming from too, Brad. Because I feel like the first game at least had a lot of like plateaus that were kind of annoying to get over in the moment, like at the time. Like
Hold on, let's talk about this
like-
game a little more.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the one thing we haven't
Well,
talked
does
about
this
yet.
game still have that? Like, is this game is your progress being very like consistent and linear, or like have you hit big walls that's like shit? This is like most of
I
my
think it's
game
been ups
time
and
has been-
downs. But so the one thing we haven't talked about this game is there is a lot outside of the water compared to the first game.
That was going to be
There
my
is a
question.
lot.
Land.
But the thing is, land, but you are in a like frozen world. So anytime you are out of the water, you have a heat meter that starts descending. You can only be outside of the water for so long before you freeze to death. So you have to take that into account, Brad. And so, unlike similar to hunger or thirst, you have now this other meter to take care of. There's
you got to
things
make
to
hot
avoid.
drink.
Yes, you can make coffee and bring that around with you and drink some coffee to warm yourself. You can find things in the environment. You can find like steam vents that will like every once in a while put a big blast of steam out, which you can get some heat back from. Cave systems throughout the world. So similarly to when you are exploring underwater, every once in a while you have to go to the surface to breathe. Well, now when you're exploring the land, you have to try and find like a cave system or like reprieve from the cold. And
So-
I just found enormous out of water area that I've like explored like multiple times, having to go back to my sea moth to drop off items that I've collected and try to go back and find like food or whatever to get myself warmer.
I guess my question about that is does that stuff feel improved from the first game? Because I remember in the first game the out of water stuff was a little janky. Underwater felt like a revolution. Like this is one of the best games I've ever played. But then I get out of water, I'm like, oh, this is kind of a janky indie game still. You know?
So yes and no. There is some areas where I don't want to say there's technically no like platforming in this game, but there's areas where you feel like you kind of want to platform, and that definitely is a little janky, kind of like jumping, interacting with kind of like rocks or kind of like a terrain that alters level is still a little janky. But if you're just kind of exploring the world, there's not too much of that. There's actually less of that than you think there is, and probably they did that because it is a little jank still. I think it's better than the first game, but there's still that little bit of like jank to it.
It's actually very realistic because what you don't realize is that your character is still wearing his flippers, and that's what makes it really hard to walk around on land.
I mean,
And
you got
that's
a
fair
point. I
reason.
never actually took them off, but I just unlocked a device that will let me get around the land more easily.
Like a hover bike, right?
Unfortunately, I do not have the I don't know, like terminal. I guess you need to build that thing, so which really fucking sucks because I guess it's like a hover bike. I that's what it kind of looks like from the picture, but I don't have the device I need to build it, so I'm very frustrated. So now I'm trying to find that device so I can try and build that thing.
And that right there is kind of the joy of Subnautica, though. Like when you know you can build something, but you have to find a schematic or some kind of thing to build it for. This sounds like it has it sounds like it has that core loop intact. I was a little worried
does.
going into this because there was some of the talk going into this, maybe coming out of early access, was not nearly as hype as the original Subnautica, but this has got me pretty stoked.
So another
The
thing I
reviews
brought
have
up in
been
Discord.
good, but
Oh yeah,
I think
no,
not. I think the conversation though from critics has been like, well, it does feel like more Subnautica. Like this. Some people were saying, "Oh, this is kind of like a sequel because this is no longer an expansion; it's standalone." But I think people were saying, "Well, it's still kind of like Subnautica 1.5, and maybe you don't go quite as deep." Like I hear it's very wide, but not. You don't go quite as deep as you did in the original.
That was another fact I was going to bring up. I don't remember the depths you went to in the first game,
Pretty
but
deep.
You're pretty deep.
no, I do remember. I don't remember the number. How deep?
Yeah.
Do y'all remember the number you went to? I don't remember. But so far,
I don't remember. I mean,
Over
over
so
9,000.
I think
Over
the
9,000.
deepest you can go is like around 1,000 meters.
Okay.
But yes, it is way more wide than the first game.
And honestly, it sounds like maybe they're swapping like the on land stuff is kind of replacing more of the like deep underwater caverns.
That is the thing, is not, you're not diving deep as much, but now you're going up, and there are some lands with like mountainous stuff, and you're going up into like mountain areas and whatnot.
How are the penguins?
So there are penguins. I accidentally picked up a penguin baby, and the adult started attacking me. And there's a fucking
Checks
like
out.
robot penguin you can make that you can have like a
What?
remote control. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I
Don't
don't wanna- I don't
talk
wanna
too much
territory.
about that. That sounds awesome.
But yeah, but before
wait, can I
I
ask
one
you a
more
question?
thing I wanted to bring up. What's up?
Is that a mod that makes you equip more items?
Yes.
Motherfucker, I knew it. Oh, I hate that. I hate how I have so few spaces.
I know
Okay.
your inventories, your actual equippable hotkey items are. You only have what, like 5? Dude, fuck
I'm
that.
downloading some mods.
I got 12 now.
Oh wait, no, I'm
uh,
on PS. I bought it on PS5.
You're
Oh,
doomed.
no.
Hey, Carpe D in chat says the maximum possible depth the player can reach. I'm not sure if he's talking about the original or this one, but he says 8,192 meters.
That sounds like the
I
first
just looked
one.
up. I just looked up the wiki, and they said that the deepest biome, the lava licks, is at 1,300 plus.
Yeah,
And
that
it's
sounds like
about like
I think
13
the
to
8,000
15.
one is the first game, probably.
No, no,
1300
I'm
is
talking
the
about.
other.
No, this is the first game.
You couldn't go
really?
that deep in the first game, I don't think.
I mean,
1,500
I thought-
meters.
I'm not
But
certain
I don't
there's
think
that
like
you can go
one
8,000
specific
feet.
crater in the game that goes down way deeper.
Let's talk about facts. And the fact is, in this game, you can get a jukebox, so you can play music around your base. And so yes, there has been Prunty music, and it's fantastic. But one of the cool things about it is you can insert whatever music you want. The game puts like a folder in
I'm
your
gonna put
music
some fucking heavy metal in
file.
that.
So
Of
I
course you
put some
would.
Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou music. Dude, I love that song, Crispy, and that's one of the things that the problem is, Crispy, is you can't play it in your C truck until you get a specific module that you have to get. But now I have that one, so I'm cruising around the world listening to fucking Life Aquatic music.
Gotta have that Bluetooth module.
Dude, Crispy,
That
what's fucking
soundtrack's
great?
great.
Dude, it is. What's great is when you have to put speakers in your house. So if you just put the jukebox, that's the only source of sound. So when you're moving around, it's going to get farther away from you. So
Right,
I put like
right.
speakers in all my rooms. But one of the cool things is when you exit your base, you can still hear it, but it's like muffled and
Oh,
underwater.
coming through the water.
Yes, dude, it is so much fun to be like going
Rocking
outside my
out.
Where
base
did I get
and
the
like doing
PS5 version?
That's
adding new
fucking
modules
cool.
and stuff, but still listening to the music, just kind of muffled and through the water. Dude,
That's not a
That's
mod, right?
cool.
Or
No, no,
No,
no.
no, no.
It's just
That's
technically a mod, but I doubt you can do it on the PS5.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Real quick, this sounds awesome. We were going kind of just real quick. We were going back to the hunger and thirst thing, and I was thinking about it, and it just occurred to me that I probably should have brought this up because, like, I'm hearing you talk about the hunger and thirst thing, and it made me think of the Long Dark, and I don't feel like I've brought this up enough. That game, as far as survival goes, is so fucking good, but you have to worry about everything as far as like hunting and your food, going bad, freezing, whatever, and like you have to melt snow for water, and you have to keep track of your dehydration and stuff. So I feel like now that I'm like super into the Long Dark and I fucking adore that game, I feel like now is kind of the perfect time to
ready?
go back and play. I'm ready for Subnautica with that layer in there.
Man.
Which is all. Here's the question: can you, if you start playing with Hunger and Thirst and it becomes like a nuisance, can you turn it off?
Don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
It's a different save file.
I promise you, Nick.
It's
I was
not.
more
I know
asking
where
for Brad.
Brad's at. I know where Brad's at. I promise you, at the beginning, it is daunting and it is, but
Oh.
it gets to the point where it becomes easy.
The worst thing that can happen is you die and you respawn at your base and you just like whatever you had on you is out in the world somewhere.
I don't
The
think you
worst
lose
thing that can
everything, but
happen
you
is-
do lose a big chunk of things. Yeah, a lot of
The worst
it.
thing that can happen is that half the world's terrain disappears and you're in
Yeah.
some enormous ocean with nothing in it. And then you go to the menu and it's just perpetually trying to save. And you're like, oh, well, this doesn't seem good. Let's close the game. I'm sure it's saved,
Wow.
recently. And then it's like you didn't play it all that day. And all of a sudden, and then you're really sad and you turn off
So
Subnautica.
they did
So
put a
oddly
big
specific.
patch out because of some specific issues for consoles and PC. They did just recently release a patch. But one of the frustrations about this game is there's no autosave. You have to manually save if you want to make a save. So it's not
Gotta
like
be
if you make a
careful.
mistake. Yeah, if you make a mistake, it's like, oh, let me like
I
one of the
was
things
manually
I did.
saving though, but after the
yeah.
crash, it rolled back all the way
Okay.
to the beginning of the day.
Ooh, that
Oh
sucks.
God.
I accidentally crafted a C
I mean-
module I did not need a second of. And it's not like, oh, I know I have 2 storages. It's like, no, I accidentally made 2 docking modules. That's for like docking your like what is it, the robot called?
The prawn?
The prawn, thank you. And so now I have 2 prawn docking stations. I don't need 2, so I'm like, well, fuck. And there's no way to like disassemble them.
That's
So
super
I
frustrating.
just kind of I grabbed because one of the cool things is you can just grab the handles and swim around with them. So I just grabbed it and just could have moved it over to the side. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna live over here now because I don't need you. It sucks that I lost the materials, but whatever.
Maybe something terrible will happen to your other one, and you'll be thankful
That's
later.
true. You have a point. You have a point.
So we probably need to move on in a second, real quick. So I think I know what the answer to this question is, and honestly, now that you've told me the thing about the music, I think my decision is made. But I actually have 2 copies of this game because of Chris Davis. Chris Davis gifted me this game when it was in early access. So first of all, thank you, Chris Davis. But I did get the PS5 version, and that has haptic feedback. Can anybody? Brad,
I've
can you
been
tell
playing
me
it on PS5.
how's the haptic? Is there anything cool with the haptic feedback? I feel like that's the only thing that's going to
So it
maybe
does
tip
some
the scale.
stuff. I mean, it feels pretty cool, and there's some cool trigger stuff, and this all your logs comes out of the speaker on the controller, which I gotta say, like, they really improved the speaker on the PS5
They did.
controller. That stuff sounds really good.
They
But,
did, but I still turn that off.
But it sounds like it sounds like it's not necessarily like being able to play your own music sounds pretty cool. With a jukebox.
Well, maybe if
Well,
you're
I guess it
listening
depends
to,
on your
like,
taste in music.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to be listening to Nick music while in the depths.
I feel like I'm gonna do that.
Scare
at least
all the
once
fish
because
away.
I think I'm gonna do that at least once because it's gonna be fucking hilarious. I'm gonna be like cruising down to like the deepest part of the oceans, like listening to like fucking crazy metal, which I feel like would just be a really cool experience. I don't know, just like totally unexpected.
One thing I did want to call out because it took me a while to figure this out. The sea truck, unlike the prawn where you just got in it and started driving around, you can get in it and start walking around. And so sometimes you're not. I wasn't 100% sure when I first started. If you don't have any modules attached to it and you enter it, you just directly enter the driver's seat. But if you do have a module, you just enter and now you're standing, which is kind of frustrating because you have an extra step to like grab the controls or whatever. If you like, and I know it's not perfect, but if you tilt the prawn or the sea truck up or down, so it's like at an extreme angle before you get in or out, you will automatically get in the driver's seat. So anytime I want to walk around the sea truck, I just leave it like parallel to the world, I guess, whatever. But if I'm ever just exploring the world, I see something I want to collect, I just tilt it down real quick and then jump out because that makes it. And I don't know if that's like a weird thing where I wish you could like hold the button to get in and out or something like that. That makes a lot more sense to me. Like if you hold it, you
for it. Let me
That's true.
tell you.
There might be a mod.
Let me tell you. Don't
We-
underestimate fucking Nolan's mod that he has to equip more things is huge. It is so frustrating only being able to equip 5 different things when you have so many gadgets.
Yeah,
I mean,
you have more
I'm
gadgets in this
I'm
than
an
the first
hour
one.
in and I already have more than 5, and I'm like, well, I guess I don't have a fucking flashlight now. It's frustrating.
Yeah. One of the
All
cool
right.
things they added in this game that wasn't in the first one is the ability. It's like a tiny little search module, so you can search for objects around you. Like if you're looking for like a specific, like a quartz or something like that, and it'll just throw up a little blip on there, and that really helps you when you're navigating. But yeah, to Brad's point, that mod was very helpful for me.
All right, noted. All right, we need to move on, but this game does sound pretty dope. I'm looking forward to playing it. All right, let's shift gears to talk about Mass Effect for a second. We can keep this fairly brief, I think, because we're talking about a game
There's
that's
a lot of history here, Nick.
there is a lot of history, but like it's so easy to slip into the just like, okay, let's talk about the game we played, however many 10 years ago, as opposed to the game we're playing now, which obviously
2007, so
weren't
14
wrong.
years ago.
You weren't wrong with 13. Yeah, 14 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Chris Davis. It sounds like you finished the first one. Is this footage of the first one or the second one?
This is footage of the first one. I actually started last night on game 2. So
Cool.
How does it feel to have now played through and Nick starting the best Mass Effect game?
I'm not calling it
I-
shenanigans. Dude, I will say this: this game, I think Mass Effect 1 is great. I think Mass Effect as a series is great. I think this first one, despite the obvious technical and visual improvements they've made, shows its age quite quite a bit, and a lot of it just has to do with like certain mechanics still being very shallow. A lot of the stuff they've made are just like small quality of life improvements. I think the Mako is a little bit easier to handle for the most part, and like it has this nice coat of paint on it for sure. It's certainly,
The
I never
load
thought in a
times
million
are
years.
incredible. Oh my
Yeah,
god,
the load
that is a
the load
life
time-
changer.
It
Yeah.
shows its age in terms of like combat and stuff, but it also shows its age in terms of like being better at things than I think those later games were better at.
Well,
Because
as of right now, I
back
can
when
only speak
BioWare
to
was making RPGs with a little more depth.
I can only speak to my experience right now, like currently with Mass Effect 1, because I haven't played 2 or 3 since they first launched. So I'll revisit this and talk about it now that I'm going. I said this in Discord today earlier. I'm actually probably most excited to play 3 because it's the one I remember the least about. And I've mentioned this before, but I've had conversations with Robin because this is obviously like one of her favorite franchises. She's played. I'm not even kidding you. She's played all 3 of these games probably 10 times or more. So, and she insists that 3 is her favorite, and I'm just like, okay, I believe you. I don't remember.
Is she
anything
familiar
about
with
that game.
Stockholm syndrome?
Maybe, but you know,
I just liked how in the first one you go to a place like a planet and it feels like a fucking place and not just
I disagree there.
The corridors between cutscenes.
I fully disagree with you there. Oh my god, I cannot begin to.
You go
Okay.
in Mass Effect 3, you go to a planet, you watch like some opening like conversations, you run down some corridors and shoot some things. There's like an ending conversation cutscene, and then you're off to the next fucking planet.
Okay.
In Mass Effect 1, you kind of like spin. I mean, it's first of all,
You do this shit.
Yeah, in Mass Effect 1, you're driving around a large, lifeless map that's nothing but hills with zero foliage and almost no animals at all, with cookie-cutter bases to find and explore, and there's nothing worth finding.
Having that between the places on the planet makes the planet feel like more of an actual fucking place.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, guys,
I agree with Brad here.
calm down a second, because
I know.
I agree with both of you to an extent. Okay, part of you got to remember, like most of the planets you go to in 1, at least most of that I've gone to so far, are intentionally meant. They're barren wastelands. Like most of the planets are not like super inhabited.
Yeah, have you been to space?
There's no, actually, but there's not a lot of exceptions to that rule. I do also agree with Chris Davis that everything that you do find on the planet, admittedly, I like the idea of driving around a barren wasteland and then finding cool shit. The problem is, I feel like rarely, at least so far, I'm only about 10 hours into the first game right now. So far, most of the planets I've explored, when you do find something, it is kind of like Chris Davis said, a cookie cutter thing, and it's not particularly interesting. There might be a few exceptions to that rule.
But a few exceptions that there are like when you maybe find like a Prothean pyramid or something like that, and you get like 3 sentences in a text box telling you what's going on there. And you don't get anything else.
You're right.
But
You're right.
The thing is, when you go to these planets and between like the actual places you need to go where story stuff is happening, you're like traveling, you're traversing. It feels like you're on a fucking planet, even if it's
playing a game.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
playing a game. Like
You're right.
everything was streamlined out of the series, and it made some things like a little snappier and brisker. And but this is the texture. We were just talking about texture earlier this show, and I feel like so much of the I mean, look at the fucking
I hear you
Citadels.
both. I hear you both. And there is
They felt like different games.
this is another thing where it comes down to kind of like what matters to you most in a game like this. I can tell you right now, the reason Robin probably appreciates 3 more than 1 is because she will always take something with just like with dialogue, like spoken dialogue and acting and like stuff happening over driving around a barren, empty planet. And that's just,
clear.
and that's
clear.
fine.
Mass Effect 1 is not only this. It just
No.
has this
Well, I mean,
between the other stuff that is in the other games.
Right, and we just jumped straight to this conversation. Oh god, she heard the word Mass Effect.
You are driving around in a Mako right now.
Well, let her stick around and watch because I'm about to flip the Mako and it's going to get stuck for a whole minute. I had to actually. I had to actually cut the footage and
Holy
paste
shit.
this together. Yeah,
You didn't have to cut the footage.
Wait,
yeah.
can't you flip it over now though?
Yeah, you can flip it over, but the game doesn't tell you how to do it. You got to fucking figure it out. Like the problem, and we can move on to other aspects of this game, but the problem for me with these open world areas is that they are too much of the same thing. The main differences are a time of day lighting that's going on and the placement of these items that you can find that add nothing to the overall experience.
I don't think anyone is gonna disagree with you if you said that those sequences could be better. Absolutely, like they could be implemented better. They could have more polish. They could have more stuff going on in them. But like
They are better
this
now.
has more spirit. This has more like ambition than anything else this series does.
Well, clearly, Crispy, because it was enjoyable but could be improved, they improved it for the second game, right?
By removing it completely because they don't want to fucking try to make something better. They want to make something that sells.
Well, that's
Like-
not true. They in the DLC, the Firebreaker DLC, they added in like open world segments with a truck
Yeah.
/ tank thing.
which were
That was
much
like a
more like
1 hour long
which were
DLC.
much more linear like
Hold on.
but
Hold
also
on.
much more
I'm-
enjoyable.
I'm going to side with Nick here. We don't need to have a 10-year-old argument. Everyone, for the most part, has their opinions, but let's not get into it. Obviously, they weren't going to add content into the second and third game that wasn't like this, that wasn't there before. So,
Yeah, I mean,
we don't need to
All I
rehash
will
the
say,
old
though, this
argument.
footage is primarily driving around in the Mako, almost as if it's anti-Mass Effect 1 propaganda.
he did this
Look,
on
You know
purpose.
what he could have shown? Very rich stories and side quests in the Citadel, which was a place unlike any other in the first game.
Well, first off, there is footage of that we just haven't gotten to that yet.
Oh.
And second, there's not as much of that as you remember in there.
Okay.
I did every single side quest possible in Mass Effect 1 in this Legendary Edition. It's a lot less content than you think.
You went with default femshop?
Guys, oh my
Well,
god.
the
This
new default
this-
FemShep.
we need to rein it in a second because I did not think this conversation was going to immediately be just shut the fuck down.
What cover? Okay.
We've been talking about Mass Effect Legendary Edition for about 10 minutes already, and about 8 of those minutes we're talking about the game that came out in 13 years
I mean,
ago.
how? Okay, you're right. How much? What is different? What is in the Legendary Edition?
Well, this is a new character model. They've updated like all the visuals. The best part for me is that they've updated the AI, specifically your character's AI, your partners, because it was atrocious in the original game. Like it would rubber band constantly. They would never get more than 10 feet away from you before they would automatically come back to you. They wouldn't aim at enemies. They weren't effective in combat. They were just bad. In this, they're actually fucking competent. I can tell Garrus and Liara to go on either side of a door, and they'll fucking stay there if I go through the other side of the level. And they'll actually shoot enemies and use their abilities. It's
It'll be
night
useful.
and day. They're so
Okay.
useful.
That's
And,
good.
and
Also, you have the cool grenades that sail through the air. They didn't take that out, right?
no, they did not take that out.
And
In
the
fact,
heat
they didn't. There's not
on the
much.
on the weapons.
They
didn't
didn't
change
change.
that.
I don't think there's much that they actually took out of the experience. Although, to be honest, now that you're talking about the active reload, I don't think that's there. I don't think that's there.
No,
unless
not
I'm.
the active reload. They have heat gauges or whatever in the first.
Oh,
game, but
yeah,
they
yeah,
removed
Yeah,
that were
yeah.
heat clips in the sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still in this.
This is
Like
from
that-
the ground up.
They fixed some inventory stuff too, right?
That's
From what
such
I
a
understand.
like.
They provided a new UI for your for managing your inventory, and it does feel better.
That's good. I do want to replay this.
I mean, really, like, kind of the only thing I really had of any substance to say about this game at this point is because, like Crispy alluded to, this is very much the same game that came out in 2013, with the exception of they've improved things like the AI, like the visual coat of paint on it looks fantastic. I never thought I'd be playing a version of Mass Effect. Like, part of the reason why I've never really considered going back and playing Mass Effect 1 again is because I think about the first thing I always think about immediately is like load times, kind of how it was kind of janky back in the day, and all of that kind of stuff has been cleaned up. This is a very smooth experience, and this is also my first opportunity since then to kind of go back and play it a totally different way. I played male ship back in the day. I'm playing fem ship now. So I'm
Progress.
I'm trying to yes progress. I went with default fem ship though, because the moment I got into the character creator, like I played around with it for a few minutes and I just couldn't make a character that I thought looked
Dude,
better.
I
gotta
am
go on.
never gonna forget the Mass Effect community's like utter vitriol and toxicity towards the blonde femshep model that they put out.
3.
Do you remember? Yeah.
Oh, I'm
when
Googling
this.
it was like 2 or
Yeah.
3 came out, they were like
It was
they were
3.
talking about like changing the default model, right? So they put out like 6 different femsheps and they were all like different coloring
Oh,
and like different hairstyles and everything, and they were like, vote for which one's your favorite. And I think redhead femshep won, but
Yeah.
like there was a blonde one, like a white blonde femshep, and people were like, fucking kill her. Like just like they're like Shepard ain't no fucking bimbo blonde, like, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on, guys? Like, it was fucking weird.
the internet's weird.
Yeah.
So it's a Bioware game, so we have to talk about who you are gonna romance and if that's gonna.
Okay,
be
so let me
new.
just tell you this. So I'm playing femshep for the first time, and I was like looking forward to romancing, but I was like, I was thinking, I was talking to Robin. I was like, I'm gonna romance this person, this person, this person. She's like, you can't do any of that. And I was like, what? And it pretty much, and I go into our own Discord. I'm like, guys, what? My plans, they're not going to work. I can't romance these particular people. And they're like, no, just romance Gareth. I was like, I don't want to romance Gareth. And they're like, I don't
Whoa.
understand.
Why not?
What are you talking
Whoa.
about? Romance Liara, right?
I know, that's what I'm going to do. But
Liara is like by default, okay? Like
I was
anyone else, like in Mass Effect 1, no.
but apparently you can't.
A lot of the story later on in the Mass Effect series, your interactions with Liara work a lot better if there's that like
That chemistry.
tension of like, we used to be a thing, like,
Yeah. I mean, your 3 options in Mass Effect 1 are space racist,
Oh my God.
vanilla soldier, and Liara, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick.
Wait,
I don't want to
who's
see any
Space
Ashley or Miranda bullshit
No.
again.
Okay, well,
You're gonna
Miranda,
fuck an alien and you're gonna like it.
Miranda, I'm going for
Whoa,
for
wait,
Liara.
what was wrong with Miranda?
Miranda
Sure,
was my
she's-
girl in the
She's
second
not
one.
the girl that you like marry and bring home to your parents, but like, come on, like in the context of Mass Effect 2, Shep was in a dark place, He was
Yeah, Brad. I was like, when is Brad gonna be like he? Excuse me. I was just thinking. I was like, well, apparently you can't romance Miranda when you're playing femshep. And then I was like, what about Jack? And like, nope, can't do Jack. I was like, Tally? Nope, can't do Tally. Apparently, I was like, who can I fucking romance as femshep? And she's like, Garrus. I was like, what?
Didn't they change that in later games that made it more? I can't remember.
I think
gave
so.
him more options as Fem.
You can romance.
Let me just say,
Yeah, they gave
Let
more
me
options in 3.
Let me
Yeah.
just say, one of the first things I did, one thing I forgot is you get basically the entire team like super quick in this game for the most
Yeah.
part. And I was like, I know Ashley's a space racist. I remember that. And I was like, I can't remember how bad it was though. And I went up for the first time. I went up and just like prompted a random like we were running around when I literally only had Caden and Ashley as my options, so we're running around on some planet, and I like hit the button to talk to her, and the first words out of her mouth were basically, I can't tell the difference between the aliens and the animals. And I was like, that's like the most racist thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse.
Oh, I
You still kill
Oh,
Caden though, because man, that dude's boring.
No,
I
I
know, but,
saved
like,
Caden.
I'm going to save
What?
Caden this time because Ashley is super racist.
Yeah, fuck
But,
the
like,
space racist.
Sure, it adds texture to the Mass Effect universe.
So you
Space
support space racism because it adds
I don't-
texture.
offers no texture. He offers nothing to the story, to the universe, to your relationships. He's nothing.
When was the
How many-
last time you played Mass Effect 1, Brad?
How
'Cause
many
let me
times
tell
are we gonna
you,
talk about texture tonight?
Kaiden, he's not as
Kaiden?
Caden, whatever his name is. Like, it's not his dialogue isn't as bad as you think.
He's
The
boring.
funny thing is, I've had several conversations with Caden, and he keeps trying to hit on me, and I'm just like, well, no. I keep trying to shut him down, and every time I end a conversation with him, I feel like he's still getting this feeling like he thinks he's in.
Well, I mean that's enigmatic of a.
I'm like-
He's picking up the signals, Nick.
And I'm like specifically trying not to give off signals, and it doesn't seem to be working very well. I'm like, is this what it feels like to be a
Oh,
is this
Nick,
what it feels like?
sleep with a video game man. It's hilarious.
I was like,
But-
it's very eye opening as a man. It's a very eye opening experience. I'm like, oh, this is what they're talking about. Okay,
But yeah,
that's fucked up.
that is just part. That's just an enigmatic part of Mass Effect 1's problem, I think, with the writing is that there's not as much as you would hope there would be. I mean, I put about 7 hours into Mass Effect 2 at this point. And it's a night and day difference, not only the quantity of writing, but the quality of writing.
Yeah, I mean this is a first game it was a new IP when it came out. It's not surprising that it wasn't necessarily the most fleshed out. It didn't have the biggest budget in the series. It wasn't until they could start honing all these things. A lot of what I have to say about this game really is that it's showing its age because it's still the same game, and this was a game that was very much like has a lot of really cool ideas, has a lot of texture to it, but not a lot of refinement, I feel like. So
I want to be clear. I love Mass Effect 2. I mean, it is a really well made, polished action game.
Yeah.
I just prefer the RPG.
sure.
So as far as the RPG goes for the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect 1, there are now 2 modes for controlling how your characters level. There's the classic mode, and then there's now by default the legendary mode. The difference is that classic mode, it still goes up to 60, but 60 is kind of hard to get to, remember, in one playthrough.
Right.
In legendary mode, they rebalance the distribution of XP to where instead of it being 1 to 60, it's 1 to 30. But it's got that same kind of linear level scaling to where a legendary level up will feel like 2 classic level ups. And I think it actually adds to the experience because when you're playing this and you're only getting like 1 point, maybe 2 points to put into one of your skill trees, and in classic versus legendary, when you're getting 3 to 4, you feel like you're actually leveling and growing as a character. It feels like a crawl in classic.
I think it also is there to kind of like this is a pack that has all 3 of those original games. A lot of people are just going to replay each one, and leave it at that. And I think this was kind of put there to help you feel like you got more out of your playthrough when you finish the first one, so you can move on to the next one and not feel like you would have to replay to like reach like the max. You know what I mean? Like it's just they want you to get more out of the playthrough now since it's a re-release. I guess that's my best guess. Anyways. We can move on.
I mean, do we have to? We're about to meet a classic character.
Yes, we have to move on.
Oh,
In
man.
fact, I think it's time to...
The Hanar dude?
No, even better. It's a good old Conrad.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Fucking Conrad.
So you can keep rolling the footage if you want. I think we can take a break now. So let's do that. When we come back, I just want to check in real quick with Brad. I know he finished Resident Evil Village since last week.
Yeah, real quick. We'll check in real quick about Resident Evil 8.
I don't like that. I don't like that attitude.
No, I'm with Chris. We've been talking about
I
Resident
mean,
Evil 8
unlike
for over a
Mass
month.
Effect, this is not a series with a bunch of history or baggage, right? So
Yeah, right.
I think hearing Brad talk about Resident Evil will add some much needed texture to this podcast. So we'll do that when
wait,
we
so
get
I'm talking.
back.
I'm talking about it now. Or are we?
Yeah,
Sorry,
we're
I'm
doing it
confused.
after
I'm
the
still
we're
break.
looking at Mass
breaking.
Effect footage. I thought you were going to break.
We're going.
We're going to
Yeah.
break.
We're
Oh,
going to break.
Okay.
Break's happening right now. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the show. As I mentioned before the break, I want to check in with Brad because, Brad,
Yes.
we want to get your closing thoughts on not Final Fantasy. I don't know why I just said that.
C14.
Resident
What did you think of it, Brad?
Resident Evil
It's,
Village is what I was trying to say.
Resident Evil 8.
Resident Evil 8 Village, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I finished it. It's a Resident Evil game. It's in my top 10 Resident Evil games.
Damn, there's only 8 of them.
I like it.
That is funny
I
to
like
think
it.
about.
I did enjoy it. I will say
You know, the more
it's
I
not
think
my
about
favorite
that,
Resident Evil game. It is. I was kind of thinking a lot about it because it's kind of like Resident Evil 7, right? But it gets dials up the crazy a little bit, right? And I'm not one
little
to
bit?
dislike a lot of it. I'm not one to dislike the crazy, right? But I feel like when the series gets crazy, it's also usually accompanied with like really satisfying action. You know the ones I like, right?
I do, yes.
Weirdo.
So it got me thinking like, well, this is kind of like Resident Evil 7, but I think I like 7 more because I think 7 is like better at being a scary game. It's better at being like a classic style Resident Evil game when it's trying to be classic. And what this game excels at is not hmm,
So
it's
we're
I think it's not the best out of anything that Resident Evil can and has done. Does that make sense?
so
It's
we're
the best
obviously not
looking one currently.
we're obviously not sticking to our challenge from last week. We were trying to avoid direct comparisons last
we're
week,
not.
but now that we're kind of we've shed that. We did a whole podcast like that. This one is obviously drawing a lot of comparisons to 4,
Yeah,
and
no,
I
we don't-
I think for obvious reasons, but you know, at the end of the day, the more I think about your statement of like this is in my top 10, I was like, oh, cool. And the more I think about it, it's like that's not saying a whole lot.
No,
I think.
it's not. I could list a bunch of Resident Evil games that I like more than this one, and you'll find that I like most Resident Evil games. But I consider 4 remake 2, 5, 1, 2, maybe probably Code Veronica actually 7. I probably
6.
like all of those more than this one. You know, I like this. I like this more than remake 3. I like it more than 0. I like it more than 6.
Oh.
For fuck's sake, 6.
No,
is
he's
awesome.
saying he's saying the bad ones.
Where would
But-
you
oh,
where would you put
I
where
think
would
I
you put
might
it around
like
Dead
Resident
Aim? That's what I
Evil
want to know.
Revelations. I think I might like Resident Evil Revelations 2 more than this one.
Damn.
You know,
That game
Which
sucks.
I like Revelations 2 a lot.
well, there's also a lot of talk about there could be a Revelations 3 currently in development, which is kind of exciting. I mean, I think it's just generally exciting that Resident Evil has become this thing where it's like there's so many different flavors of Resident Evil now. It's like when you hear a Resident Evil game is in development, it's kind of like, what are we gonna get?
There
Uh,
are really strong parts of Village in my opinion, but a lot of the stuff it's the stuff out in the village, right? But when you're in the village, you go off to a place to do a thing, and I feel like those things that you're doing, those areas, those big boss areas, they're like different, they're gimmicky, and like ultimately it pulls you so much away from like the core, with the exception of the castle, which honestly just sort of felt like a weaker version of maybe the mansion from the last game or from or you know like any other classic Resident Evil space. It just felt kind of a little too short and streamlined and a little too familiar, right? And then
Right.
you get to like the areas from like the second, the third, and the fourth boss, and it's like that's not the good stuff in this game. It's the memorable stuff, but this got me thinking, right? Like the memorable parts of like say my favorite Resident Evil 4 are like really well crafted like action set pieces. Like not set pieces, but like sequence, like good level design, right? Like remember the
Cabin.
first time you go out into the area with all the bridges, you know, like I remember the different places like distinctly, like that's the memorable parts where you fight things, right? But the memorable parts of this game were like those little gimmicky side areas, right? And all the village stuff, which is the good stuff in this game, just kind of blends together. And it doesn't stick out in my mind as like memorable level design or encounter design, if you will, you know. And
You know, the farther I
that,
get away from having finished it,
I don't want to replay this one.
I mean, here's the thing. I think ultimately I'm going to rank this one quite a bit higher than you. I absolutely want to replay this one and I love it. But the farther away I get from it, the more I think about the ideas that I was expressing, like my concerns leading up to it about wanting it more open. And, you know, I'm thinking about like, you know, if this game had been like a classic Resident Evil game where it's like that village is like the village is the mansion from the first game, where instead of branching off, you know, into like the wagon wheel places and then like coming back to it, like if the entire game was built around a bigger version of this village that we got, and the keys and the stuff that you were finding were all just like letting you progress deeper and deeper into this whole like village, which actually this serves as the hub area in the actual game. I think I ultimately would have liked this game a lot more. And the more I think about it, I'm more thinking like maybe that's what I was trying to express before the game came out. Not that I necessarily wanted an open world Resident Evil, but more that I wanted the village to kind of serve as the primary locale, the thing that you were exploring the most.
Yeah,
And I think
the
getting
my
away
favorite parts my favorite parts of the game are when you do these optional little side things. I think what stood out in my mind is like, man, this is what Resident Evil could be. Is when I lowered that drawbridge and I got in a little boat and I went to a couple of different areas in the boat and I'm like, this could be the whole fucking game. But it's so focused on like, and then when you're done with that, you go to like the factory and people in chat are telling me, well, this is the point of no return, and I'm like, fucking already, dude. Like, I don't. How is this already the point of no return? And there's some good moments in the factory. Like, it's not a bad area, but everything after the factory is fucking trash fire. I mean, it's not bad. It's just kind of embarrassing, and it's not
he's
the
talking, he's
gameplay. The story's embarrassing, and like the gameplay is not fun or exciting. I guess I don't want to. I mean, whatever. There's a moment where you play as a different character, which hey is not unique at all to the Resident Evil series. But it's like I was so invested in like my character and upgrading that character and those weapons and stuff. It's so low. Like I just didn't care at all. And by the way, I died once in this game, and it was on purpose. This game, don't play this game on normal. It's too fucking easy.
I don't know if I would go that far, but you know,
But
whatever.
do turn off hunger and thirst in Subnautica.
That is not the same thing.
Is it though?
You know,
No, but Nick, I
It's
agree with your
good.
point
It's a
about the
fine Resident Evil
village.
game. I like most Resident Evil games, and I would put this in the column of Resident Evil games that I like. That's
good.
that.
That's fair. What were you gonna say, Chris?
I was going to say I agree with your point about the village and the fact that it's such a prominent aspect of the game. But beyond just the actual title, Resident Evil Village, and the fact that you come back here as a hub area, there's not a whole lot of depth to it.
I mean, I will say this. I think I enjoyed my time the most when I was exploring the hub areas.
I mean, I feel like they didn't make as much use of the space as they really could have. Like,
Correct.
like you run into NPCs like in the first 10 minutes of the game, and then you never run into them ever again. It just becomes like an area to explore and shoot enemies and unlock some doors and get some treasure. But like they could have
Chris
done
Davis,
a lot more with that.
It just sounded like you described a Resident Evil game.
Well, no, I mean he's not wrong. I mean, at the beginning of the game, it does kind of this is another case kind of like Resident Evil 4 where it's like they show something with a lot of promise, and that kind of suggests the game is going to be one way, and then moves away from it pretty quickly. Not that this is not in necessarily a bad way, but and I don't want to spoil story stuff. But
This
you're right,
one in
like
a bad way, Resident Evil not in a bad way, and Resident Evil 4
dude,
not in a bad way.
I know
As
it's
one of the
like
greatest
blasphemy.
games of all time.
I know you can't help yourself when someone says something negative about Resident Evil 4, but like, come on. There's nothing wrong with criticizing Resident Evil 4. One aspect of Resident Evil 4.
I just want you to say one thing you like about Resident Evil 4, Nick.
It's in like my
Say
top
that
5.
you like it.
It's in my top 5 Resident Evil games of all time. Like, what do you want me to? What do you want me to tell you? I've always I loved Resident Evil 4, but I was under the impression it was going to have a very specific kind of like direction and atmosphere in the first hour of that game, and then they move away from it in some pretty dramatic ways, and you never go back to it. And that's always bugged me about that game.
Yeah, like the first hour of Resident Evil 4 is one of the best hours in all of video games. But
which is why I was eager for Resident Evil Village to be kind of like that first hour of Resident Evil 4, but like the whole thing. That's kind of what I was
first
expecting.
2 full chapters of RE4 are that village.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think y'all are underestimating how much time you spend in that villagey area in RE4. Y'all keep saying like an hour.
I can think of
like it's
more.
it's at least like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah,
I can
like,
think of more distinct,
lake and...
like memorable like fighting spaces and bosses that you encounter in the village chapters of Resident Evil 4 than I can on all of 8.
Look, all I'm saying is, my favorite part of Resident Evil 4 by a pretty wide margin is the part at the beginning where you're in the village, and after that, for me, I don't want to say it like this, but I'm going to. I'm
the
going
castle's
to.
pretty great.
It's downhill from there for me after the village in Resident Evil 4. Like,
hey, but I will say, and I'm not speaking to you directly, but some people are like, oh, Resident Evil 4 gets so actiony and gets so crazy and gets so stupid. I feel like some of those people are like Resident Evil Village is amazing, and I'm like, dude, this gets like so actiony and stupid too. So I definitely can't get on board with the people who say that Resident Evil 4 sent the series down a dark path or whatever, because this is like way darker than that.
Brad, I know we're going for texture in this podcast, but we're not gonna have that. We're not gonna have that conversation again for the 10,000th time.
Also,
let me just
a B-2 bomber flying into a volcano is not nearly as crazy as what happens at the end of this game.
They're both crazy and they're both equally stupid in my opinion. But here's the thing. The thing that bothered me the most about this game in retrospect, and this is only the smallest of fucking, I don't even think you consider this a spoiler. But let me just say, you've seen the Duke, right? The shopkeeper, right? The big guy in the what do you call it?
Yes.
He's in like a wagon
carriage.
No, and he's in a giant wagon, right?
Yes.
There is a part in this game, like story wise, where you kind of end up in the back of his wagon and he's like taking you somewhere. And then you get out of the wagon and you're like in that like that area, that little like hub area in the village, right? And like it bothered the shit out of me because I was sitting here and it's like, how the fuck did he maneuver this wagon in here? It doesn't make any fucking sense at all. Does little shit like that not bother anybody else? Because it drove me fucking crazy.
What are we talking about?
Oh my god. Okay, fine. Apparently it's just me.
But it's really funny. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I've had that with like theme park rides.
The space makes no sense. Like that wagon would not be able to move around the space at all. And you spend this time like you're like in the back of the wagon. And you can hear him like he's going down some like trail in a forest or something. And then you get out of the wagon. You're like, oh, I'm back here. But it's like, how the fuck did he get this wagon in this room? It's like a circular room that's pretty small to begin with, and it's surrounded on all sides by like really tight corridors or like stairs. And it's like, how did this wagon get here? It makes no fucking sense at all. That shit drove me crazy. That was my volcano. That was my volcano moment in this fucking game. But fine. Apparently that's just me.
That is just you. Jesus. Okay.
Let's move on.
No, I'm with you, Nick. Fuck that.
Thank you, Crispy. Crispy, have you been playing anything that you want to talk about?
uh,
I didn't mean to catch you off guard there.
I mean, I've been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering and Final Fantasy
Like
14.
the physical Magic the Gathering.
Like
Mostly
card?
mostly Arena. The Hearthstone competitor.
You said you were wanting to build some new decks a few weeks ago.
You know what? I did finally get to play like a real Commander game with Kenton and some of his friends, which was exactly as insane as advertised, and that was really fun. I've kind of cooled a little bit this week on Magic though, because a few friends of mine here in Austin, in Austin, Texas,
Wow.
not in Greater Central Texas like you guys, but here in Austin.
Crispy has downgraded us as friends from Austin friends to Texas friends.
Not
It
even
is
Central
true.
Texas friends.
It is technically true. Crispy is now the only person in this of these 5 people that lives within the Austin city limits. I
Woo!
suppose.
Oh yeah.
Well, none of us can afford to live in Austin anymore.
They pushed us out.
Yeah, I'm squatting. What are you talking about? Yeah, a few friends of mine that aren't involved with 4Player started playing Final Fantasy 14, so I'm like ushering them through, and one of them is like just fucking devouring it. Like, it's like level 60 in like 2 days. It's
Holy shit.
I mean, he's well, maybe not 60, but he's fucking crazy. He's insane.
He's gonna surpass you pretty soon, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yep. I'm Metal Gear, and he is the weapon to surpass.
Alrighty. Anything you want to say about it, or should we just shall we-
It's really cool, and FanFest just happened over the weekend, and they made a lot of really cool announcements. And
Aren't
New,
they making Dude Vieira's?
yes, yeah, they're adding male Vieras, so you can be a bunny boy, and like
Oh, the rabbit people.
They're
honestly,
smaller, right? They're smaller than the ladies.
they're
too, right?
shorter than they're shorter than the ladies.
was that race in Final Fantasy? Was that not designed? I mean, wasn't it like hasn't
Originally-
like the lore always been like they're all female?
Yeah, originally they were gender locked to female, and it was like I don't know if they specifically said like there are absolutely no men, but now they're saying like there are men, but they're like way less of them than males, and it's supposed to be really rare to see one
It would
outside
be cool
of
if they put a limit on how many male Vieiras there could be on a server.
right on a server. Oh my god, that would be. I could see them doing that. That would be really fucked up. But
Somebody
I don't know, I
spent a really bad weekend frantically rewriting their Final Fantasy 14 wiki.
listen. I've been really happy with my choice as an Elezen because there's just not enough elf people out there just representing, But after seeing the Bunny Boys, I was kind of like, I have a Fantasia laying around. Maybe give it a try for a while. It might be kind of cool to be like a knight with bunny ears.
Oh, Chris,
if everyone else
boy.
is gonna be a degenerate furry, I might as well be too, I guess.
there we go. There it
That's
is.
our quote of the night.
There it is. All right. Well, be sure to let us know if you end up playing as Bunny Boy. I want to follow the exploits of Crispy the Bunny Boy. All right. Let's get into community. Of course, as we always do, I like to start the community by reading some feedback from our last episode. So again, if you have anything you want to say after tonight's discussions, head on over to 4playernetwork.com, leave us a comment, and we'll read your feedback and respond to it at the next on the next show. Our first comment comes from Mr. Scorpion this week. He says, I respect Brad's viewpoint about the map and clearing rooms in Resident Evil Village. I frequently did the same thing and often ended up frustrated in a room for 5 straight minutes just to finally see a piece of scrap that blended into the dark background it hid in. This ultimately led to me leaving some small rooms alone late game, as I knew it had been thoroughly checked for anything worthwhile, and I wasn't going to find any sort of $10,000 treasure just laying around.
The room where you forge the things.
Room
I
where you
could never
forge.
turn
Oh
that room
yeah, yeah.
blue. You would get the molds and then you
Mhm.
Oh,
forge
yeah, yeah, yeah.
various things. I could never turn that room blue, and I spent like so much time in there, and I kept going back to it. And I spent
I
so
turned
much
it blue.
time in there. You don't fucking remember shit.
No, I did. I turned that whole factory blue.
No, you
Bitch. I did. I
What's
did.
missing in that room? What's
I don't
hard to
fuck-
find in that room? See, you don't
Look, dude,
remember.
I can't
There's
remember
a
what I
couple
had for lunch
drawers.
today.
Well, mine was glitched because no drawers wanted to open.
And I think there's
I
like
think
a crystal in the ceiling.
There are several molds you have to make that are required to progress the story, and there's a couple that I think are. Did you make the ball for the tilty puzzle? Because you have to mold.
No, I didn't.
That's what it is. You have to
But-
make.
but-
There's a mold for
But
the ball.
the forge would keep the room red.
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's an item you get in the room, so you have to forge the ball for the tilty puzzle.
Oh wait, the forge is in for the balls in the room.
Well, no, you find the mold for somewhere,
mold,
and then
I
and then you use.
The thing is,
You
I turned
use
every other room in the factory blue.
Well, then you must have had the mold. You just didn't use it.
Did you blow? Did you check some of the hidden rooms like behind the broken walls?
There are a few broken walls you can find.
Yeah.
I don't think
Anyway.
Brad's gonna go back and finish this. So
The point is
He
what
actually
you missed
should.
was the ball for the tilty puzzle.
Which means
I'm glad
all
we solved this.
other treasure that equaled more money. I mean, the whole economy and the upgrade system for the weapons. I could talk shit about that too. You know what was great in Resident Evil 4? How every weapon was a little bit different, but viable. I hate how they made it to where every new weapon you found was just clearly better than the one prior. That was really stupid how they handled that.
I mean, no.
We're not having a conversation. We're not doing it. We're not going back into this.
I'm just saying
territory.
he's saying factually incorrect things.
I'm just
Okay,
saying we're not
okay.
talking about it.
Am I?
Yes.
Brad, bad Chris. Next comment comes from KNC Cito. He says, "Hi," a comment on an earlier episode. I hope that's allowed. It is. But one of you should play that 5D chess game with multiverse time travel with Crispy. That game is wild. You're losing, send a piece back in time and create an alternate timeline. Think you found a timeline where you might win? Flood the board with pieces from other multiverses and secure it. Your opponent's
I
good
didn't even
defense.
know you could do that.
Your opponent's good defense doesn't mean anything when the queen from Timeline 4 can checkmate their king in Timeline 2 across time and space. Oh my god. No, I don't understand it. He says, "No, I don't understand it either, but it's fun to try and win when you have 3 kings on the same board because of time travel bullshit." That sounds phenomenal.
That's great.
Nick, it's not about what's your next move. It's when's your next move.
When are we?
That's pretty good. I like the way he described that game. And our last comment tonight comes from Slopdog. He says, "Speaking of happenstance kiosk memories, I remember going to Target and playing a game set up there. It was a car combat game, and I wasn't really good at it. Constantly running into walls, catching on fire, damaging myself with my own weapons until my car's back window shattered. It blew my mind at the time, probably 1999 or 2000. I could remember it was a Twisted Metal game, but couldn't recall which one. Fast forward a little. I get into my mom's car after middle school one day, and she hands me a PS1 game case. It was Twisted Metal 2. Even though it wasn't the game I had played in Target, only after playing 2 and 3 would I eventually play 4, which was indeed the game at Target. It was the very beginning of my love for the Twisted Metal series as a whole." Good story. Memories.
Nice.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much.
You're not allowed to love Twisted Metal anymore because the creator sucks. Welcome to my life.
Hey, well that's a whole nother can of worms. I don't want.
Problematic fave. We all have them.
Yes, we all have them. Anyways, thank you guys so much for your
Especially
feedback,
me.
for your comments. Like I said, if you want to leave a comment after tonight's podcast, go to 4playernetwork.com. Leave us a comment on the post for this episode, and we'll get to it next week. Now, we're going to answer some questions from our paid supporters on Patreon and Twitch, and Nolan's going to take it away.
All right, let's go. First question this week from Chai Tai. Do we know who that is?
We do know that guy.
Chai tie.
It sounds familiar.
I've been in his house.
Chai tie.
That's weird. Does he know
That's
that?
a little officer.
Do you have an idle animation? Do you have a habit that you do when just standing around? Are you self-conscious of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
One time,
Yeah.
one
Oh,
time, my manager at GameStop pulled me into the back room and showed me like an hour's worth of security camera footage sped up, and it's just me standing behind the counter swaying back and forth. But on the security camera, it looked like I was going like and like
Is this like a
slapping at me.
paranormal activity thing?
Yeah, it was the scene out of Paranormal Activity.
Because I'm just like shifting my weight back and forth.
Corner, just
Yeah,
That's-
I
I
was
was just
cursed. I was cursed with security camera footage by the people I worked with, who burned this one onto a DVD. But I was behind the counter, and I was gonna do this thing where I was gonna like jump over the counter, and I changed my mind. So I was like halfway over the counter, and I was like, "I'm thinking it happened," and then I go back and walk around. I never let that one.
and that's
never
an
let
idle
me-
animation for you, Brad.
Yeah.
Well, it's that little animation you do if you've been idling for like 5 seconds or longer,
hmm
Yeah. It was worked.
like at the end of the loop.
She made fun of me too. Also, me skiing on a pallet jack, or like pretending I was like, like doing a ski jump while riding a pallet jack. No,
That's interesting. I never would have guessed that.
Because of the yeah.
big skis. Crispy knows what I'm talking
That's
about.
pretty good.
But like, I think an idle animation is supposed to be something that you do just naturally when you're just.
You're right.
standing.
Look, man, the answer to this question morphed into something else, as it often does. Sue me.
I feel like you have to get perspective of someone else to learn what your actual idle animation is. Like,
Yeah.
can
What
Nick,
if
can
you were
you
fighting
go
people
get
that are-
Robin right now and ask her what your idle animation is?
She's asleep.
Oh,
Yeah, I think the thing is a lot of the times, yes, you are not aware of it until someone informs you of it, because it's something that you subconsciously do or whatever. It's just like a thing that happens. It's not something you. The whole point of it being an idle animation is
I breakdance.
your body
Yeah,
just
idle.
does it. No, you don't.
Animation.
True, I do not know how to breakdance. Nolan, do you have an idle animation that you know of?
I do not have an idle animation to my knowledge.
All right. Well, now I'm going to be ultra aware of it now. So when we're finally like everyone's hanging around together in person, if that ever happens again, I'm just going to be like paying like super close attention to everybody. I'll bring it up. I'll circle back around and bring this up if I ever discover one. Anyways, next question.
All right, moving on to the next question from Henry from Birmingham, Alabama.
Hi, Harry.
Should reviewers be required to finish a game before they review them? Some developers, such as Obsidian with Fallout New Vegas, receive bonuses depending on how a game is reviewed, while other games may not have an ending, like some roguelikes or arcade-style games. Or is it okay for major outlets to walk away from these kinds of games and provide an opinion that may affect how the game performs? Does every game's campaign need to be finished, side content, etc. in game?
Well, first of all, I think one thing we're seeing a lot more of these days, and especially especially this happens more often, I think, with smaller outlets and in some cases big outlets. Like I've heard plenty of stories of like people from like IGN saying like we didn't get our copy of the game until like 2 days before release, which doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
that's a big thing.
So we're seeing reviews in progress happen a lot more often, which I think is a good thing.
I think disclosing how much of the game you played in a review is important.
Yeah,
because I would like to know if someone who reviewed the game's only played 2 hours of it, versus if they've played the game in its entirety like 3 times. Like those are 2 very different like statuses.
I mean, honestly, I feel like that kind of like if that was just the norm, if it was like every review, regardless of who reviewed it or if they beat it or not or whatever it was, if it just said, hey, just for in interest of full disclosure, I played it on this platform for this long, I finished the campaign or I didn't, just give it like paint a picture of what your experience was, that frames the entire review in the correct context, and then I don't feel like it's much of an issue. Or at least you can say, okay, this person gave it a lower score, but I know that they did this, this, and this, and it's like, maybe this wouldn't be such a debate if that was just the norm. You know what I mean?
I think they should just finish the game.
I mean, yeah, but
Maybe I'm
it
not too
depends on the
interested in a
game,
review
though.
where someone hasn't finished the game. I mean,
when
there's
they're
gonna be
when they're
reviews out
doing
there where
stuff
people-
like, I mean, if you're talking about like an MMO or something, it's like when do
well,
you
sure.
when do
Sure,
you
why
actually
even
review
review
it?
an MMO? Yeah,
But if
why
it's-
even
I-
review
Well,
it?
I also don't think the onus of like developer bonuses and stuff should be placed on journalists.
Absolutely
Of
not.
course
No.
not. Of
That
course not.
that's just a shitty practice that the
that's
publisher's
a
doing.
different
I,
can
like
of
that's
worms.
course.
that's
yeah.
just something they shouldn't be doing. Like
Of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Famously, Fallout New Vegas people didn't get their bonus because of the Metacritic score.
yeah, which is
And that happens more often than we probably even know these days. But
Oh, definitely.
you know, I think there are certain every game is different, obviously, and you have a situation where it's like, okay, so people are like, do you need to finish the campaign to do a story? It's like, well, I don't know. Is the campaign like the focal point? Like, was this game designed and developed as primarily as a single player story driven campaign? If so, yeah, you should probably experience the whole thing. Like, don't play like half of the campaign and then spend a bunch of time playing the multiplayer if like the main draw is the campaign. You know what I mean?
The
Like,
exception would be, I think, if the game like really fucking sucks, and it's like this game fucking sucks. I didn't finish it. This is why it sucks.
I mean,
But in general,
So,
just
so
finish the
Brad, in
video
that
game.
in that case, as soon as I finish the village quest in Monster Hunter and I get credits, I'm done then, right? I can now review that game because I've played it and I got credits.
And what
thing
game?
is, Monster Hunter.
Monster
I mean,
Hunter.
I'm sure people did do that. I mean, Nick did that, right?
Okay.
Oh, you mean
no.
the first credits?
Yeah,
Oh,
there are
no.
people. There,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
got
honestly,
credits.
Honestly,
finished
there
the
are
game.
probably. I
But
would
what
be
about
surprised.
second
Nobody who
credits?
reviewed that game reviewed it after those credits.
11sies?
How do you know? How do you know?
I-
Well, it's a valid question, Brad. If I'm reviewing a game and I'm not familiar with the Monster Hunter series, and someone's like, "Here's a review code for Monster Hunter," and I see credits roll, I'm gonna go write a review.
And that's the developer's damn fault, to be honest. If
I mean,
anyone's
this
like,
is
if
a
anyone's gonna,
different, weird, specific question, but in general, yes, finish the fucking
So,
game.
so
I
I,
mean,
I
because
finish Nier and I get credits. I'm gonna go write a review.
I mean,
but here's
I'm not saying stop when you get credits. Do the research, learn what you should play, and finish that shit.
sometimes you don't have that amount of time to push out these reviews, though.
Okay, but we're not talking about reviews need to arrive on time. I get why they're not like that. I'm saying if I'm gonna read a review or watch a review, I want a review of someone who finished the fucking game. You know, I understand why they're often not that,
But
but
I'm
not
also
defending
saying
that.
there's a cost investment in doing this. Like
Okay.
All right.
if it's an
Let's-
80-hour CRPG, like I'm not going to feel compelled to finish that game in order to write a review.
So I'll care less about your review. And
Like-
that's fine.
Like when Skyrim was about to come out, I got a review copy about 10 days early, and I put about 40 hours into it. I didn't finish the game, but I experienced a shit ton of it. And half of the comments that I got on my fucking review were, "Oh, you didn't even scratch the surface after 40 hours. You have no idea what's at the depth of an Elder Scrolls game." Fuck you. I think I do.
well, the thing
But
is,
that's fine. I mean, if you say interesting about things about the game, that's fine. But I'd still rather read interesting things about a game from probably someone who experienced all of it. I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what I'm reading or fucking review for.
But if you're purchasing this game, like when are you reading this review? Are you reading it like around the time of launch, or are you reading this like 6 months later?
I mean, a lot of the reviews and stuff that I do watch are stuff from like older stuff actually. Like I don't like, so I didn't watch any fucking reviews for Subnautica or Resident Evil Village. I kind of don't care about reviews for the newer games. I care about like, oh, what are this person's thoughts on like some, you know, older game, you know, or like a retrospective, maybe that sort of thing. So I mean, but what are
Speaking
we
of
talking about?
retrospective, the next question this week from Joshua from Boston. After the debacle with PSP, PS3 Vita stores closing, I have buckled down when it comes to buying physical over digital games. While I don't have the time to play many games, I want to have the ability to enjoy titles whenever I want. Have any of you changed your buying habits lately with buying physical versus digital? Very interested to hear Nick's
absolutely.
prefers physical media, and Brad/Nolan's enjoy older games often, which are only available physical. It's a
I
good
have
question.
become much more. I have become over the years. I have become much more comfortable buying digital, but At the same time, if I buy a game, especially if I buy a game at launch and it's digital and I love it, the moment it becomes available in physical form on like console, I almost always buy it. Like I bought Hades, I bought Return of the Obra Dinn, I bought fucking Outer Wilds long after. Like these are all games I bought long after I had played them on PC, but like they released them on console on a disc, and I was like, yeah, sure, of course. That's how I ended up with a copy of Subnautica Below Zero, because I was like, shoosh, that's coming out on PS5, and it's it's a budget title. It's like $30 on PS5 as opposed to the full whatever the fuck. And I was like, yeah, why not? So like, I play a lot of games digitally these days. I don't know if you know this, guys. I'm a PC gamer now. I play a lot of PC games.
Nick, you're not a PC gamer.
You don't
That's
get
the joke, Brad. That's the joke, Brad. I mean, but I do play a lot of PC games more than I used to.
He's
I spend a lot
trying,
of
Brad.
time on-
Give him credit for that.
I spend a lot more time on my PC these days than I used to. Scarecrow in chat is right. I modded Stalker. Which we're going through
With
the Bible Club
multiple
right now.
mods.
Multiple mods.
You moved around DLL files and you went into installers. Like you should be so proud
Okay.
as a PC gamer.
Wearing
I'm not-
drinking vodka.
PC,
I'm not
but
I'm
you,
not
you
an
had
idiot.
someone walk you through that process, though, right, Nick?
I mean, I have modded a game before. I mean, I asked Chris
Okay.
Davis. There was a lot. I mean, Stalker is it's a meaty game when it comes to mods. There's a whole bunch of different ones, and it's like some are worth it, some aren't. Of course, I had lots of conversations about which ones I should do. But I have modded PC games before without having to get input from anybody. It's not particularly difficult. I've even fucking I've emulated games before, guys. I don't know if you know this. I've emulated games
Ooh.
before.
Wow.
I'm not a PC gaming idiot, so give me some credit.
I'm not. I didn't say you were a PC gaming idiot, but I feel like someone who collects
Why?
physical copies of games is still a console gamer at heart.
I am. I absolutely am a console gamer at heart. But you would be proud of me if you looked at my list of the games I've played over the last year. Shockingly, a lot of it's PC. I played Resident Evil 3 remake when it
Sure.
came out on PC.
So let's move on from Nick because we've heard enough from him. I
Yeah,
would say
fuck me.
that my habits have changed in the past few years in the sense that when I was back in the day when I guess I would say I had less money. I'm not saying I have more now. It's just more so I'm less like I'm not in college and I don't have like $10 in my bank account right now. And back then, buying physical was more important because it was generally easier to find a discount on a physical game than digital. A lot of the times it was pre-order bonuses. Amazon for a long time had that 20% off, like when you pre-order or whatever. GameFly was cheaper, and I think now that I'm not as strict. First off, I think I buy games less often than I used to. I wait more often than not. But B, I find the convenience of digital is way easier than physical. Because it's often like, oh, I forgot that game was coming out. Or, oh, shit, I'm really in the mood to play this game. Do I want to try and find a good deal? Or do I want to just go on my PS5 and say buy now? And then within 10 minutes, I'm playing the game. And so honestly, I've been leaning a lot more towards physical lately. In regards to
Physical?
You mean digital?
sorry, thank you. I meant digital. I've been
I was like,
leaning
that took a
away
left
from
turn.
physical, more towards digital. I don't get me wrong. I still do buy physical games now and then, but for me, it's more in regards to like older games and even like say I buy. I'm trying to think of like a PS5 game. I just that's not going to be on console. I don't know. In regards to like PS3 and Vita and stuff like that, say eventually they do close down those shops. The thing is, technology is only going to come further. Emulations are going to come further. In 20 years from now, I guarantee you, there's going to be a way to emulate Vita games in a easy way. It's one of those things where I don't think there's ever been a game that I'm like, oh, I'm so mad I can't play this game. It's generally
What about BS Zelda? Look into that. BS Zelda.
That is like an extreme case, though. Like,
I don't know what that means.
It is a live Zelda
Bullshit
game.
Zelda. A what?
It is a live Zelda game.
for the
Why would I wanna play
for the
this,
Super
Brad?
Famicom, they kind of
They
released
came out in
the satellite
1995.
disc.
That was before I owned any games, Brad. That was before I knew what games were.
No, I know, but read up on that game. It sounds super interesting, and I bet you'd want to play it. And
So that's an interesting
some way-
concept. And yes, so let's actually talk about that for a second, Brad. That is a good point. When it comes to multiplayer games or games that change over time, yes, that is a good point. Obviously, if I were to try and play Gotham City Imposters right now or Assassin's Creed 3 multiplayer right now, that's obviously an issue. And a game like that, yes, you kind of have to play when it's in its prime in order to get the full effect of that. But that's kind of, I think there are way fewer of those style of games than there are either like single player or story driven kind of open games. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm less worried about it now.
I'm kind of like with me. I'm kind of like sticking to digital when I for like the Switch and stuff because I don't like switching out cartridges and
The
stuff. I don't
cartridges,
have them
yeah.
with me. Like I'm
Dude,
never gonna.
my Switch case is already full. It already has as many cartridges as it can hold. And if I buy another physical game, I gotta stick something somewhere else because like my case is full.
But I still rely on physical, and I don't want it to go away because I rent a lot of games through GameFly, and I probably wouldn't try those games otherwise. So I like to have that disc. That's why I wanted the new PS5 because I was sick of playing PS4 games on my crappy PS4, and it's like I was still going to be renting them. I couldn't play everything on PC for cost reasons. So
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like at the rate I'm going, when we do inevitably reach that whole like digital future, right, where everything is digital for the most part, there was a time in my life where I was like, that's it for me. That's when I stopped playing games. And I know that sounds extreme, but that is literally how I felt for a very long time. And
were
I
you
don't
ever,
think
like,
that's the case anymore.
Were you ever a physical diehard with music?
Yes, I was, but
Did-
that ended a long time ago
Yeah.
for me. But it's also that's a very different thing for me. And games and music are I don't really I've never considered music to be
Hey man, they're just on different timelines, man. It's gonna get there for games
no.
as
But
well.
for me, there's never been like a physical component of like I don't display my music. Like I've never put I've never put my cases for music on like a shelf and as like a decorative piece or anything like that. And
I got
there is
records hanging on the wall.
sure, that's you. That's just not me. I mean, I do have one thing, but it's
Okay, well then.
Speaking of like kind of older stuff like that, and kind of like had a point in time at Game Crazy, we had a service in which you could bring in discs and we would buff them for like a charge or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just like not a thing anymore. I just remember doing that. Like this one guy would come in every Saturday and bring like 5 random CDs and pay like however much. It wasn't much. I don't remember. Like 10 CDs was like $2 or something, and we would buff them for him. I just remember that being a thing.
Yeah.
all right.
Anyway, let's move on. Yeah. Next question this week from Negative Cosine. How long would you be able to hang your leg over the side of your bed at night?
What?
Like because of
Outside
monsters.
the covers and monsters. So I would say that not very long, but not because of monsters, more so just because I don't think that'd be a very comfortable position.
No,
I
correct.
often stick my leg, like a single leg, out from under the covers. That is a very common sleeping position for me.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
one
not
leg
gonna
outside the covers.
To regulate temperature.
Yeah.
I
Of
still
course.
I
Yes.
still feel weird like keeping like taking like being sleeping in like open air without being under covers. Not necessarily that I'm scared or anything. It's more of I
Okay.
feel very exposed.
Do you
I don't
keep
know.
your arms in the blanket at all times?
More like during the winter I do. During the summer that's like usually the only thing. But yeah,
Is it true that Robin like has to tuck in the sides of the bedspread under the mattress for you?
fuck off. Fuck off.
Is that before or
She-
after she warms up your milk for you?
She calls him her little burrito.
Hey, he asked the question. I'm just answering it. I don't know. I like being covered. I like being wrapped up like a burrito when I'm sleeping, huh?
I do have to close
Is
the
that
closet
so
door.
unusual?
The
That's
closet
so
door cannot even be cracked because monsters will get you. and ghosts.
Oh. Okay.
God.
There's
Sorry.
a ghost, Nick.
Don't mind that.
All right. Anybody else? Anything else? Or we'll move on.
I feel like I didn't get the last word. Fuck you guys.
All right. Moving on. Next question from Question Mork from Ireland. Bungie revealed their transmog system recently, and it's a tedious, long grind. That got me thinking, how important is your character's appearance in first-person games?
Oh, first
Crispy.
person games? Yeah, it definitely seems like a crispy question. You play
In
first-person
first-person games, like why do you have to say it like that?
Transmog thing,
Like,
Crispy.
why you gotta say it like that? Because it's not like you never see your character, you know? Like,
Yeah, you see him
like
at the
your
beginning, you make
character
him.
being a presence is like part of the experience. You see them.
That's
you
like
see them.
in Dead Island when your character runs like that.
It is not like that. It's not like that. And I know you guys are having a yuck at my expense, but it's not like
yuck?
that, okay? And it's like,
No, for Dead Island, it was definitely like that.
I know, but that's not what Destiny's like. At
I
least
didn't say
not
that
as
like
far
I
as
said
like
for Dead Island.
at least as far as like your appearance is concerned, because you're playing what is essentially an MMO shooter. Like, you're surrounded by other people. There's people to appreciate how you look. It's not just for you. It's also for the community. It's also for teammates when you're in Crucible or when you're doing a raid. Like when they do those cool little like entry.
For the ladies.
Yes, it's for the ladies.
But
It's about to be a fucking hot boy summer. Like,
can you do like poses and dances and stuff in third person?
absolutely. And anytime you do an emote, it goes into third person. In fact, now anytime you equip a melee weapon, it goes into third person. Like, there's a lot of opportunity where you and everybody are like seeing your character. So it's not like, I would say, how much does it matter in any particular game that has a character model? Depends on the fucking game. Just because it's a first-person shooter doesn't mean you're never, like...
Let me ask you this, though. If it was truly first person and you never saw your character, but others saw your character, would you care?
Yeah,
not even a paper doll in a menu.
Okay,
Like-
that I wouldn't play that game if like how can you even customize your appearance if you don't ever get to see it?
Yeah, why would you give
Other
a
people
damn if
tell
you can't
it's
see
part of the
yourself?
magic.
Have we gotten too far away from the question or not? I
Yes.
can't. Like, what is
No,
the
I
point of
answered the question.
Yeah,
Okay.
we all did, I think.
Hey, real quick, this GIF that Nolan posted is gonna give me nightmares. What
Why?
the fuck? Look at her
Dude,
arms.
So that game was
Those are
not meant to be
goats?
played in third person. It was supposed to be first person. So the character
A-
does
a
that
lot of
because
those
Oh my
the
God,
arms
yeah.
need to swing in front of the camera, and so
I know.
Yeah,
This
that's
is what
fucking
Resident Evil
weird.
Village would look like apparently if it went into third
Oh,
person. Except
probably.
Did y'all
that
see
engine
it? Somebody
already does
posted on
third person
Twitter
just fine.
because there's a mod out there already. I think where you can play Village and third person, and somebody gift because there's several puzzles where you have to push like a swinging torch to like you have to push it against other torches on the wall to like light them.
Yeah.
And like so you do that in the game, but like walking into them. So like, but when you're in third person, it looks like he's just like pushing them with his head, and and it's just like, and it said, "This is how you solve puzzles in Resident Evil," and I was like, he's not wrong. And now it just looks way more ridiculous.
To the point of the question, though, I will say that Destiny's new transmog system is a problem, but I'll talk about it in my 4-player minute.
There we
Gotcha.
go.
Perfect. Let's do one more question tonight from Zero Skies. What would E3 have to lose to make you decide to stop attending in person?
Well, I mean, I
Nothing.
feel like, I mean,
It would have to gain. It would have to lose a bunch of people for me to decide to go back.
Good point.
I mean,
Like,
my so I think we all have a little different view, and I want to have a conversation maybe on a future show in the coming weeks about what E3 is going to be this year, ahead of the actual show, because it's going to be different, obviously. But you know, I've been to quite a few E3s now, and I love it. And we all have kind of differing opinions about its value or like how much we personally enjoy it, and that's fine. I feel like at this point, the thing that I would have to lose to make me not go again would be y'all. Like if nobody else on this show said they were gonna go, like I don't want to go by myself. I mean, it's just one of those things where I love going to E3, but it's become this thing where the thing I look forward to honestly the most is going with you guys and hanging out and talking. So like if I'm just going by myself, I don't think it would be like 50% less magical.
We did have a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun at E3.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Like I'm never not going to take up the opportunity to go to E3. I don't think.
And that's great.
That is my like one vacation a year that I take.
No, I feel the exact same way.
But what if instead of going to LA Convention Center, you just like went south a little bit to Anaheim, went to Disneyland or something, like, you know?
You're not really that much on theme parks, honestly.
Well,
you clearly have not been to good theme parks then, bud.
Have you been to Disney?
I've been to Disney World. I've been to Disney World. I've been to Six Flags. I've been to SeaWorld. Like I've been to a number of them.
I've been to Universal. I feel like that's more of an old man theme park.
Hold on, not even just old man.
Wow.
Brad. Universal is a fantastic time.
Universal.
Yeah.
I go to Universal strictly for the Harry Potter area because I can't do roller
Make it sound
coasters.
like you go every year.
No, but I mean, like Robin and I we're probably going to go to Disney World and Universal this year, and that's obviously not happening.
Wait,
so.
Nick, did you do the Hollywood one, Nick?
Hollywood one?
Studios?
The one with
at the roller coaster.
I don't do roller coasters.
Wait,
guys,
you did the
let me tell
Mummy though, right?
What?
Dude,
You don't
let me tell you.
roller coasters?
Let me tell you.
Nick
You
doesn't
didn't
do
do
roller coasters.
Rocket?
Everybody calm down for a second. When I last went to Universal and went to the Harry Potter
The Wizarding World of
Wizarding World of Harry
Potter.
Potter, which by the way, incredible place. I went on what most of y'all would probably not even call a roller coaster.
Did you go on the kid one, the Hagrid one, or whatever it is?
No, you went on the.
They don't let you on that one.
You went on
They
the
don't let
flying
you on that
unicorn,
one.
didn't you?
You're talking about the one in the castle.
Anymore.
No. Those are I can do the ones in the castle because those are more like your.
Gringotts?
Those aren't. No, God, no. I did the Gringotts one. I did where you're actually going through the castle. I don't really consider those roller coasters. I went on the one out. It's outside. It's like outside of the castle.
Right outside the castle, right? Yeah.
I did that one.
The kids,
Wait.
the kids
Scared the shit out of me.
Wait. You're talking about Dragon Challenge, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It used to be Dueling Dragon, and it doesn't exist anymore. And that roller coaster was a fucking piece of art. Like when it was just Dueling Dragons before that whole area was Harry Potter, that was like one of the single most like best themed parts of that whole park. It was amazing, and I'm really sad that it's gone.
I did so I can do Space Mountain because I can't actually see what the fuck is happening.
Hold on, did you do the ET ride at Universal?
No.
Oh my god, it's your baby ride. It's perfect for you.
Guys, I'm not even kidding.
That thing sucks.
No, but you gotta do ET once. It's like the
You
pirate.
can't. Gone.
It's like I don't know.
It's gone now.
Let me tell you.
No, the one in Orlando still exists.
I thought it was gone.
No, they got rid of the one in they got rid of one of them, but the others exist still. The one in Tokyo and the one in Orlando, I think, still exists.
It's a bad ride.
Nick, it's not a bad ride. Fuck you, Brad. But Nick, have you seen that Jurassic World roller coaster they just opened up? The Velocicoaster? Come on, you would have to try that.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Nick, why don't you've never been a roller coaster guy? Is that
dude? No,
you're afraid you're just too small. You might slip out.
let me be.
He very rarely passes the "you are too."
Let me be open. Let me be open and honest and very vulnerable for you guys for a second, okay? Okay.
I'll follow that up.
We're your friends. We won't make fun.
Roller coasters for me are very much in the same category as like bungee jumping and skydiving, where it's like I will never do it because I don't want to I don't even want to risk something going wrong, because if I die, I'm gonna feel like if I die, it's like that's the stupidest.
You'll go down as a hero.
I didn't have to jump out of that airplane.
Nick, if you
Dude.
die, you're not gonna feel anything because you'll be dead.
I know.
It's
I
like-
know.
If I die on a roller coaster that like derails, that's like an epic way to go. Think about it.
Well, okay, no. The worst case scenario is something like the Smiler at Alton Towers over in the UK. There was an incident with that roller coaster where they sent around too many cars, and one that had the way the cars are built, like they don't have floors and they don't really have much of a front to them either. And one car smashed into another car, and two of the people in the front row had to get both their legs amputated.
Okay, this is a little too real and sad.
It's
Wow.
really
Nick,
But
Nick,
Nick, you
I,
could be like Fabio and get hit in the face with a goose.
Nick, I
No,
completely
thank you.
understand your situation. I
Thank you.
can't do roller coasters at all. So when I was 6 years old, my mom decided to take me and my brother to go to Disney World, right? And
Mhm.
my first roller coaster experience ever as a human being, she took me on Space Mountain, and that broke me.
Dude, I can.
Like I was
do
a
Space
broken
Mountain.
person because of that. I can never ride a roller coaster ever again because of Space Mountain.
There's
I
so
can do
many really good rides at Disney that are like slow as shit.
I can
Yeah,
do
that's
Space
true.
Mountain. I can do Splash Mountain. But here's the thing. I remember very vividly. You know, when I think of going to Universal, I think of obviously going to the Harry Potter place. But the second thing that pops into my head is we were sitting in one of the restaurants having lunch, and our table was facing the window. And the entire time I was like looking out the window, and I was just watching people do the Hulk ride.
Dude,
Ooh,
the
yeah.
Hulk
Oh,
one is
okay.
good.
It's one of the best roller coasters in the
It's
world.
good.
It's so
Fuck
good.
They tell you you need to keep your head back, and that's very true because otherwise you're fucking doing this the whole time.
Like that acceleration is insane, and there's
That's
a
a good
little
one.
loop at the top of it. Like
Nick, I remembered what it's called.
that ride.
It's the Rock and Roller Coaster, and the cool thing about that one is you pick a song. Song is timed
no,
to
no.
the roller coaster.
no, you're thinking of the Rip Ride Rocket. That's
Am
the one
I?
at Universal. The Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith is at Disney Hollywood
Oh,
Studios.
you're right. I got it. Okay. Yep.
Hey, I was very proud of myself when I was at Disney World. I did the Tower of Terror, and let me tell you,
The Tower of
That's
Terror is an
cool.
amazing ride. I love that ride.
That's cool.
no, I do love the Tower of Terror now.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But that was what. But I'll tell you what. I was so nervous in the line waiting to get on that thing, and then I remember looking. I remember when we were about to get into the fucking elevator, quote unquote, right? And I'm looking at it, and the way it's basically like a little kind of like a a theater setup, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like slightly elevated, but there's an aisle going down the middle of it, right? So everybody goes down the middle aisle and then splits off to go down either side. So I was like, as long as I don't end up if I'm in like the middle of everything, I'll be fine. But as long as I'm not like against the aisle where there's no bar right there, and I'm not in the front row, I'll be fine. They put me in the fucking front row on the aisle seat. So the only thing they give you an oh shit handle on the left, like on the side with the aisle. So the entire time I'm gripping the shit out of that oh shit handle.
So-
but let me tell
so-
you, I was so proud of myself. That was a fun ass ride.
Dude, and
So
you know
Nick, I
what?
will say
You know
that
the
ride's
that ride.
Yeah, that ride scared me. And the thing is, I don't because that one you have like a strap for like your belt or whatever. You have like a belt strap that keeps you in, and they definitely do not inform you of how tight you need to get that strap. Because when
Your
I went
butt
on
starts
that
to leave
and
the
they
seat.
drop you for the first time, I started going up, and that's when I freaked out. When my ass lifted away from the seat, that's when I got scared.
You don't want it to be too tight because the elevator falls faster than gravity. They're pulling it down. They're not dropping it. So like
Yeah.
you really are like, whoa. It's
Shoot.
fun.
We should all go to Disney World.
Dude, you know what's fucked? There's those crazy fuckers out there who like when they're putting like when the attendant comes around and like puts the lap bar down on you, they'll put like their fist or something in their pockets to like hold the lap bar up so that they can get more air like on hills and stuff and just like fucking fly out of the
Am I
goddamn.
the only
Let
one
him
who
die.
gets like
Let him
fascinated
die.
by theme park like freak accidents?
Like,
That took a dark turn.
Hit it and got his head decapitated. Like that.
I have been watching a lot of like Expedition theme park where they talk about like old and like removed
Yeah,
rides,
yeah.
and there's a lot of them
Yeah,
that are like, especially not in America. There's a lot of them that are like, oh yeah, and then like 4 people died on this ride. Like,
Chris,
If it wasn't-
is there an episode on the high roller at the Stratosphere?
No, but they have a bunch of stuff in. Like, I didn't know that Circus had a roller coaster that like went through it at one point.
Yeah.
And wait, is the high roller the one that's just like there's one that's just a car on a length of track that they hang out over like on top of a tower and they just like tilt it down and the car just goes towards the end of the track and then they pick the track up and you like slide back and they just do that a few times and it looks I don't think I would do that one. That looks fucking terrifying.
Well, no, the high roller goes around the stratosphere, but yeah, it's on top of the tower.
Oh yeah.
It's like 30 stories in the air.
I think I might be resigned from roller coasters myself because last time I was at a theme park riding roller coasters, I was just a little too large of a person, you know. When you barely get the single click, it's like, is the single click enough? Is the single click actually going to hold me in here as much as the
Suck it in, Brad.
multiple clicks?
Yeah.
Yes, Brad. As long as you get one click, you're good.
Then really you can suck in for two clicks, but then you're like very uncomfortable.
Yeah. We only got hold for a couple minutes. I don't know. I think Disney has a lot of like really friendly, comfortable roller coasters, like that Slinky Dog Dash and fucking yeah. I don't know. We talked a lot
like
about
20 minutes on roller coasters.
Man,
I did It's a Wonderful Life.
If only they had roller coasters like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you could just remove a section at the top of the ramp, so everyone just shoots off.
It shoots out and just lands on people and explodes. I played an inordinate amount of Roller Coaster Tycoon.
I do love the Final Destination like roller coaster crash. That was tight.
I fucking hate those movies. You said something about It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, I did that because it was like, that was the first Disney World ride, I think. If I remember
you mean
correctly.
It's Small World?
Oh, it's a Small World. That's right, Small World.
Very different things.
I mean, I don't remember. I don't fucking remember. But I did it because I was like, oh, it's like a piece of like Disney World history. So I went. I was like, and it was like a really long line, and we went and did it, and I was like, that was really boring. Dude. It was like the complete opposite of the thing. The other thing that I won't do.
So in chat, Nullify said there's a ride in Tokyo Disney Sea called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You guys should look that up. It is actually very cool. It's a complete like indoor dark ride, but they make it look like a sub, and the way they do it is like really fucking cool. You should check. I'll
check that out. All right, we really need to move on.
Okay.
Last thought, Chris Davis.
I just want to ask on the topic of like things at theme parks, like. I don't know if it's still there, but do y'all know if the Indiana Jones stunt show is still there at Disney World?
Oh, no, it's not. It's not.
It's not?
Yeah, they stopped that one.
Yeah.
I did get to see it back in the day, yeah.
That was really good.
When I was at Universal last time in Orlando, they had just retired the Jaws ride. And I if I remember correctly, they were still dismantling it, and I think if I remember, the shark was like sitting on they had like taken it out or something, and it was like on the dock or something, and I was just like, oh, that's sad. Like I actually kind of wanted to do that because that was like that's a famous thing.
There's a documentary about that ride, and it's actually pretty good.
It's kind of sad now. I'll never get to experience it. Anyways, we've talked enough about roller coasters and theme parks, but now I really want to go to a theme park. So thanks, guys. All right, it's time to wrap up the show with the 4-player minute. Hype, sweat, thank you, fuck you. Y'all know how it goes. Brad, you're first.
Yeah. Okay. My hype for the week is it is Monster Hunter 3.0, which they're going to do a presentation next week. It's going to reveal it and probably release very shortly after. It's going to be the conclusion of the story, the true final boss and all that, and several new monsters. I'm hoping for, some sort of in-game grind that can make some of the easier monsters harder, like the tempered stuff from World. That would be really exciting. But I'm also just in general very excited for Stories 2. Stories 2 comes out in July. I think it's looking really good. You can have a gun lance. You can ride a basil geese. It looks pretty good. My sweat for this week goes to, when I was thinking of talking a little bit about Resident Evil on Discord, I got to thinking about Dying Light and how like that's like the good open world zombie game. So Resident Evil doesn't need to go open world because we have Dying Light and that's cool. But then I started to remember that Dying Light 2 has been a very troubled development, and I really, really hope that game comes out and is actually good, at least as good as that first game, because that would
I
be like
think
really disappointing if Dying Light 2 is a big letdown.
I think they're starting to tease that they're about to announce a release date. Like they tweeted today,
Oh, tease
like
for
a,
a
like a
release
like
date. Exciting.
well I mean they teased like a video, like a 5-second video that showed like a wall in the city, and then like one of
Yeah,
those UV lights went over it, and it said
that's
R,
all.
like ARE. Like, I think it's like gonna go like, "Are you ready?" and then like have a date or something. That's my guess, but
Okay,
you
well,
know what I mean.
I hope it comes out soon. I hope it's good.
I
My
think that'll
fuck
be
you
this
for
year.
this week goes. I was hearing some rumor. I don't even know how I was like the the events that led up to like the me thinking about something and then me realizing the other thing that made me sad. I can't remember, but it was some rumor related to a new Lord of the Rings game being in development, and I was like, "Oh, I love video games,
Gollum.
and I love Lord of I love no, I love Lord of the Rings," and it's like that's exciting. And then like, oh, the rumor is that Monolith is working on it. Like, wait, I love Monolith and I love Lord of the Rings. Oh, that's exciting. And then I remembered the Shadows of Mordor games, and I was like, oh, it's probably just another one of those. That's not exciting anymore. So my my fuck you for this week goes to me forgetting that Monolith made those Shadows of Mordor games, which I played the first one and it was good. But
Solid.
I miss Lord of the Rings as Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Rings as a video game, and it not being that, grimdark
You
Shadow of
gotta play.
Mordor bullshit, which is
You,
fine. I just miss Lord of the Rings, and that doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings to me,
you can play
honestly.
that Gollum game.
No, no, because
No,
that's being
not even.
made by a bad developer. So I'm probably not going to play that. Who knows? Maybe if it gets decent reviews, but that's not really Lord of the Rings much to me either. I don't know. We'll
Yeah, I
see.
mean, I don't know why it seems so hard to get like just to
Gollum sneaking around Mordor. Can I leave
get the
Mordor, please?
just get the fuck out of Mordor, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I want to go to the Shire, man. I haven't been to the Shire since Lego Lord of the Rings, and that my thank you for this week goes to apparently Deep Silver and the revival of Free Radical, which apparently Free Radical has been revived into a new studio and called Free Radical still, and they are going to be working on the Time Splitter series, from what I understand. And thank you for that, because that's cool. I love Time Splitters, but those games are hard to go back to because they're made by the people who made GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and they have a very similar style control scheme, and you can't go back to that control scheme. It's fucked. It's so hard to play those games. I want I just want a new Time Splitters that has all the charm and the modes and the craziness of the old Time Splitters games, but controls like a new modern shooter. That would be cool. So I'd probably be happy with that, even if they're like remakes. So yeah, that's it.
Cool. All right, Nolan, how about you go next?
All right, my 4 player minute starts now. I have 2 thank yous and 2 fuck yous this week. My first thank you it goes to Subnautica, specifically when I was casting it the other day for the first time. Alyssa was a big help in chat. So thank you to Alyssa for putting 140 hours or however many into Subnautica Below Zero and helping me out the other day. Very helpful. She was my Wikipedia. My second thank you is going to go to Skyward Sword. I'm very excited about the remake for that. I never played the original game, so I finally get to play it. And they just announced that there will be an amiibo that will let you go from the ground to the sky, and I can definitely get that amiibo. Maybe.
Oh, I don't think that's going to save
Uh,
that game, but we'll see.
we'll see. My first fuck you this week goes to the other today. Every once in a while, I like to have a snack in the afternoon. After 3 p.m. something like that. And I was like, today I'm gonna have an apple with some peanut butter. And I had noticed that I always forgot that we have an apple core in our drawer or whatever. So I was like, let me use this apple core. I never use this. I always
Oh,
just cut the apple. And so I take it and I put it through and I pull out a core and I look in there and there's just a ring of fucking seeds on the inside that it just didn't get at all. And I'm like, what's the fucking point of this apple core if it doesn't even take out the fucking core of the apple? Like it took out a chunk of the center, but didn't actually take out the stuff I was trying to remove.
Wait, is your fuck you of the week to your Apple core?
Yeah, the
Oh,
core. Yeah,
The core.
yeah, the device that doesn't do what it says it's supposed to do.
Yeah, fuck that thing.
Yeah. And my second fuck you is going to go to Activision because last night I was having a good old grand time playing some Call of Duty Warzone with some friends, having fun. We finished a match, and all of a sudden it kicks me out of the game because there's an update. And it's like, fuck you, we're updating now. Piss off. It's 24 gigs. Have fun. And so I just had to sit there while it downloaded, and I didn't get to play anymore. But the nice thing about this update is it features Nakatomi Plaza in Warzone. They're doing an 80s themed event, and so there's a Bruce Willis character. Yeah, the Nakatomi Plaza is in Verdansk. So you can actually scale the tower. There's some missions you can do in there, and like you can jump off the top and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
You can top.
Yeah, you can. That's my 4-player minute.
All right, Chris Davis.
Oh, okay. I'm feeling a little hype this week. My first hype is for continuing my Mass Effect series run. I started Mass Effect 2 yesterday. I now have 4 characters: Kasumi, Zaid, Garrus, and Morden. And man, I'm really enjoying this a lot more than anticipated too. Like seeing the night and day difference in the writing and the dialogue and the acting of characters just reinforces how much I love Mass Effect 2. Like it is so much better than, as I look at Brad in the camera, anything in Mass Effect 1.
Okay. Careful, buddy.
My second hype is for Biomutant that comes out next week. I still am thinking back to that demo that we played at E3 several years ago, and that was just a fucking solid experience, man. That was nice. And I kind of want to play like something that's just kind of nice, right now. Just something a little different. And that's what this is.
Might be a checklist game.
Hey, but we'll find out next week. So
we'll find out 2 weeks from now because it comes out next Friday.
Let's not talk people out of it before we even know what it is.
My third hype is for probably the funniest goddamn thing I've seen all week. So I've beaten Resident Evil 8 4 times now. And I was about to put it down.
What the fuck?
But now.
Oh god, are you doing that stupid mod?
It's a meme.
There is a mod that somebody has created that I think is the best thing in the world. Every time your character looks at Lady D, her hat gets slightly bigger. And just like these montage videos of just like looking back and being chased by her, and this incredibly gigantic hat that is chasing you, being worn by this tiny lady is so fucking funny. Yeah,
being worn by this
9-foot tiny lady by comparison. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Oh man, I almost want to buy the PC version just to play this mod. So, and my sweat this week is to the AT&T news. So AT&T is selling off Warner Brothers Media, which includes the movie studios, obviously. But the worrying thing is that this affects Warner Brothers Interactive, and they're being very non-specific about what's going on. But the implications seem to be that like they're splitting the studios. Like AT&T will keep some studios, but some will go over to Discovery, the new owners. And like what that means for like whatever Warner Brothers is working on, like what's going to happen to those Batman games that are in development? What's going to happen to those unannounced Monolith projects that are being worked on? Like it's worrying.
I mean, they're probably being very nonchalant about it right now because they themselves don't quite know yet. I mean, it's still very new. Like, I don't think they even know 100% what's going on yet. And obviously, once they do know, we're not going to find out immediately. either. They're gonna be very, very, very careful about the way they tell people what's happening.
Yeah,
So
if we start hearing reports of people like leaving or filing for unemployment and going to look for other jobs, that's like when you gotta press the red alert
right,
button.
we shall see. All right, Crispy, it's your turn.
All right. This week, my sweat is also for the Warner Media Discovery merger, but for a different reason, because this whole thing may have, and if the scuttlebutt is true, almost certainly did kill our chances of seeing the second part of Dune.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Dune.
Oh,
Yeah, so like they are vehemently like committed to putting Dune out day and day on HBO Max as they are putting it in theaters, so it's not going to do well in theaters. And they don't care. They're just trying to get it out because they know it's not going to be their property this time next year. And Denis Villeneuve has been, I mean, he's always very like, I'm just kind of focused on whatever my next project is. And his next project is not the Dune sequel. So, he's like, well, he's basically kind of been like, well, if they call me, I don't know, maybe, like, but the scuttlebutt that I've been hearing, like, from critics and insiders and stuff is that, like, we're almost certainly not going to see Dune Part 2.
I wasn't even really aware at this point. I guess I'm not surprised. But I wasn't aware that
Which
this
is
movie was supposed to be
really pissing me off.
I thought this was supposed to be kind of a one and done thing, but I guess
No, this
there's
movie is the first half of the book. Which, if you read the
Fuck.
book, you know that there is like kind of a break point at a certain point in
Well,
the story, and a lot of stuff happens. A lot of stuff happens in like the last third of the book. Like, it's
wow.
yeah.
Well, I wonder if things aren't working out with this movie. Like maybe the word is that it's like stinky poo.
I don't think that's the case. It's got an incredible cast, and Denis Villeneuve is like kind of an incredible director in my opinion, anyways.
Yeah, so was David
So-
Lynch.
Hey,
Shit
hey,
happens, man.
hey,
I
fuck
don't
you.
know.
I'm just saying. I feel like it's more likely going to be good than not, probably. But
I think the odds. I think the odds of, if there is a Dune 2, I think the odds of it being a direct follow up to this one, as in like Denis Villeneuve doing it, I think are gone now. They might make a sequel if this one makes $1 billion, but the point is it's not going to, because they're putting it on home streaming. Like,
yeah.
they're putting it on HBO, so no one's going to go see it in theaters. Which,
When does it come out in theaters? In November?
Well,
October
people
1st.
started going to the movie theater again, including me. Guess what I saw?
Yeah, but even if
Wait,
even
you saw
Spiral.
oh. Well,
I
anyways,
don't even watch.
this
I don't
is
even watch those movies, but I
this
watch
is bad for
Spiral.
Dune, and that's like my most, well, Green Knight is really hotly
Ooh, yeah.
anticipated for me, but
Oh
Dune,
yeah, that
Dune
looks
is the
pretty
other
good.
big one this year that, like, I'm super, I don't know, now I'm just like really bummed out and worried about it, and like all the Dune people I follow on Twitter are like, this is the worst thing that could have possibly happened. Which sucks. My hype this week, though, is for Overwatch 2. Today, they did a developer stream that was all about PvP, is all about the changes that they're making to the core competitive Overwatch gameplay. And it looks pretty crazy. Like, they're shaking things up pretty big. They are officially going through with the reduction to 5-player teams from 6. So they're getting rid of a tank on each team, and they're completely reworking how tanks work now. And as a tank main, I'm really happy about that, because now it's not just going to be focused on like protection so much as it's not going to be focused so much on claiming space that DPS are like clearing out for you. It's going to be a lot more like brawly, a lot more going in there and making the space yourself kind of thing, which is brilliant. I can't wait for that. The new maps look great. The new mode push looks great. They teased a lot about like customizable like skins and gear for characters, even in the PvP and single player both. It looks great. I mean, I'm super excited. I love Overwatch, but I'm very I'm very much in a slump with the current version. I'm very much kind of burned out on it, and I really want to see what Overwatch 2 is like. My fuck you for the week goes to Bungie for their atrocious fucking transmog system. This is the one thing I was really looking forward to be added into Destiny because I don't know, call me shallow if you must, but I care
You're
about this.
shallow.
Like I think video games are a largely visual medium. I think the way things look and like the design of things is very important. And I'm not just here for the gameplay. I also want shit to look cool. That's part of the fantasy of it, right? Basically, this transmog system it's kind of a convoluted mess how you actually have to like get the materials to make the things. So like you have to, as you're like playing the game normally, you'll collect one type of resource that you turn in for bounties. That you complete those, you get another type of resource, and then you're supposed to do something with that resource to turn it into like a third type of resource, and then that you can spend on different pieces of armor in your collection to turn them into ornaments, which is the transmog part of it, right? The problem is that they have committed to only allowing you to make 2 full sets of armor every season. And if you want to do more after that, you have to buy the material to do it, like with real money.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah. Which really sucks. And they've already been testing like how long it actually takes to grind out a suit, like a full complete set of armor. And right now it's like I think it's somewhere around like 36 to 40 hours.
Jesus.
Which is
It gives you something to do.
it does, I guess, but like
Fuck that.
This ain't it, man.
You'll have a story to tell about that armor now.
Fuck up, Brad. Oh my god.
No,
Like
that was the whole Destiny thing, right?
what the
A
fuck?
story about the gun that you got.
Hey,
That was
Crispy.
real marketing.
Yeah,
Right,
that
we-
was real
we should
marketing
cancel
for a
Brad.
different game led by people who aren't at the company anymore.
We should
Oh,
cancel Brad.
Just
Okay.
joke.
That was back when they were like vehemently against the idea that Destiny was an MMO, and now they're very much into the idea that it's an MMO. Yeah, okay. So that was my sweat, my fuck, my hype, my I don't know, I guess my
Your hype fuck?
wait, what
What?
what do I have left?
I don't know.
I feel like
Whatever
you've done most.
Do
of
whatever
the...
you want.
My thank you? Did I do a thank you?
think
I don't
you
know.
did.
Thank you. Shut the fuck up. Thank you to
Nobody's actually keeping track of these things, so
No.
Yeah.
I had 3
Whatever.
hypes.
I will
Thank
say thank you to Kenton for inviting me into playing Commander with his friends. It was a really fun experience, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't found 3 other people who were willing to play Commander Magic the Gathering, which seems to be difficult now, but I don't know. That was really fun. But yeah, that's it. That's my 4-player minute.
thank you, sir. My 4-player minute starts now. My first hype is also Biomutant. That game comes out next week. I'm hoping I can at least get through Mass Effect 1 before it comes out. I've been looking forward to this, like Chris Davis said. That was actually, I think, one of the last demos I ever played at E3 because there was no E3 last year. So it's kind of cool to finally see that game coming out. And I was watching some footage of it today. It still looks just really wacky and colorful and, like Chris Davis said, nice. It looks nice and different. So very much looking forward to playing that next week. My second, I'm gonna pull Chris Davis and I'm doing all hypes. My second hype is E3. Today was, for some reason, was kind of the first day I started to feel kind of excited again about E3. I know it's going to be very different this year, and I want to have a conversation, like I said, soon about what E3 is it going to be, because it's going to be very different. But, we're going to get some announcements, and I feel like it's been a while since we've had just kind of like a big rush of announcements. And there are some pretty big names participating in E3 this year, so I'm pretty excited. My third hype is Subnautica Below Zero, especially now that Nolan talked about it on the show. It looks hype as fuck. I love the hell out of Subnautica, and I cannot wait to finally play that. Just got to clear a few more things off my plate. And lastly, I'm going to talk about TV here for my last hype. Obviously, Dexter is the big one. but I'll spare you on that again. Had to squeeze that in there, though. I'm getting so fucking excited. But you know what? HBO is on a roll lately. I've been watching Mayor of Easttown, which if you haven't seen that show, it's pretty fucking great. Starring Kate Winslet on HBO. Very, very, very good. It's also a whodunit, so if you're looking for like a kind of a cool, dark mystery drama type show, it's incredible. Highly recommend it.
It's Mayor of Easttown, as in a horse, not Mayor of Easttown.
Mare, M-A-R-E, but it's not referring to a horse. It is a nickname. It is the main character goes by Mare, so that is why it's called Mare of Easttown.
Sarah Jessica Parker's in this?
No, oh my God. Nolan cannot hear the word horse and not make a comment about Sarah Jessica Parker, which is so fucked up. But anyway, it's so funny. But the point is, I'm saying like I'm excited about HBO because Chernobyl was fucking phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching Night of right now, which is also really, really fucking good. And it made me realize, man, I'm fucking excited for that Last of Us show, man. I cannot wait to see what that looks like. And they're starting to film pretty soon, so with it, this time next year we'll probably be pretty close to it coming out. So I'm pretty fucking hyped for that. But yeah, that's it. That's my 4-player minute, and that's our show, guys. Thank you so much for listening this week. Join us again next week for another episode. In the meantime, join us in Discord at discord.gg/4player. You can check us out streaming on Twitch. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And you can find all of our podcast episodes over at 4playernetwork.com and on streaming services, podcast streaming services all over the place. We'd appreciate reviews. If you have not yet,
leave a review that doesn't involve werewolves masturbating or something like that.
Dude, that is a beautiful review. Don't you trash talk our glorious listeners' review. That was wonderful. Leave us a story or whatever the hell you want to call that. That was a good review. Anyways, thanks again for listening, guys. We'll be back next week to talk about more video games. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.